Dope.
Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart. Welcome to our weekly show. It's a live discussion, a podcast. We do it every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, you know, we do this all the time. So if you want to be here live to be a part of the chat, the communication, so you can answer questions, and, well, you can ask questions, I'll answer. Actually, you could probably answer questions too. But we do it all live Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right? So today, we are joined by Brandon from What About My Nintendo, one of my good friends, a fellow YouTuber. As usual, I was going to say with Will as well, but Will is not here yet. Hopefully he's okay. I hope he didn't die, but, you know, he may jump in at some point during the discussion, so don't be surprised. And we have a special guest, Amanda. Lee Plays. How you doing?
I'm good.
Cool. So thanks for coming, by the way. I'm just, so everyone to you know, see, like.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Amanda also has a YouTube channel. She covers video games, a lot of Nintendo stuff. You know, yeah. I mean, feel free to talk about your channel for a little bit.
My channel is Mandy Lee Plays, like my Twitter, and I just talk about gaming stuff in general. I mostly focus on consoles, but I would talk about like the gaming industry and the gaming community also. Yeah. So if you're interested, please give me a subscribe.
Yeah, and the links. Yeah, no, you know, sorry to interrupt you, but like the link to her channel and everyone else's is in the description below, guys. So, you know, hear her out. She has some cool stuff to say. I mean, actually, you told me something about Detective Pikachu that I didn't know about in one of your most recent videos.
It's super easy.
Yeah, I don't like easy.
It's kind of insulting.
It's like, you obviously do not know how to play games, so let me make really easy games so that you as a crappy gamer can understand.
Not even that. It's like you kind of feel like it's dumbed down. Mm-hmm. Like, they point out everything, like, I know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there's an easy mode, so.
Right, that's the funny part, right? You were saying it's easy, but there's an easier mode, which is just kind of crazy. Yeah. So yeah, guys, check out Amanda's channel. Again, the link is in the description below. But you know, we're gonna have a show tonight. We have some cool stuff to talk about. So let me let you know. I go over the topic. So first, we're gonna be talking about Spyro. The Spyro Reignited Trilogy was announced this week. It was not announced officially for Nintendo Switch, but it's still probably coming. We'll talk about that in a bit. Then we're going to talk about PAX and just the different things we saw there, some things that we sort of noticed that may have been really cool. Then we're going to be talking about No More Heroes 3 or the potential of it. And then we'll be talking about this Funimation app that we also heard about and just kind of apps in general for the Nintendo Switch. And then we're really talking about this viewer-suggested topic, Smash Scratches. Actually, Sabbath64, I already see you in the chat, he suggested it last week that we talk about certain things that we don't want to see the next Smash Brothers or we want to see taken out. So we're going to be covering that as well. It's going to be like sort of like the midway point for the podcast. And then we'll be going into PlayStation 5 rumors. There are some rumors for PlayStation 5 already. And yes, this is a Nintendo channel, but this affects Nintendo. So we're definitely talking about it, and it's just something that's kind of cool to talk about. So we're going to talk about it. And then we're going to be talking about Zeraora being revealed. Zeraora is the final Pokemon of the Pokedex for Generation 7, Ultra Sun and Moon. And that could have some cool implications for Pokemon Switch. So we'll be getting to that later on in the show. And then finally, potentially the biggest topic, Animal Crossing. There has been some media coming out for Animal Crossing on different Nintendo sites, and it looks like they're building up to something. There's placeholders, there's gibberish, there's Latin. It's really weird, but it's really painting this picture of Animal Crossing being announced really soon. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. But, you know, just for reference, guys, people who are watching, keep in mind that I'm going to try to reference the chat in between topics. So if I don't get to your questions while we're talking, it's because I'm trying to focus on the discussion during each particular topic. But in between topics, I'll try to get to you guys. But depending on how many people are actually watching, you know, that may be kind of hard. So just keep that in mind, everyone. But before we, you know, get the show on the road, let me see how you guys are doing in the chat. What's Brandon? I know who you are. You're What About Nintendo? Sabbath64.
What? Me?
Sup, man?
You don't
Hey,
know
Black
me.
Star Dude. Yeah, Black Star, dude. I am a Miami Heat fan. I'm originally from Miami, so you know, yeah,
Yo, I live in Miami. Cool.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Never been to Miami before.
You should go. It,
Sounds
it,
nice.
it will give you a lot of color and culture, and it's a great place, and the weather's fantastic. Usually,
The driving sucks, so be careful.
the driving does suck.
Mm.
Yes, but the driving sucks everywhere.
No, it sucks even more
I
down
live
here.
in Houston, so I know the feeling of sucky driving.
No,
just
you haven't
traffic
seen
everywhere.
anything. You haven't seen anything.
Well,
Okay.
just for perspective, I grew up in Miami, and I also did drove around with Lyft and Uber in Miami, like in right a few months before I moved up here, which is like a year and a half ago. So it wasn't even that long ago, and I didn't like driving down there. But then I moved up here to the New Jersey, New York area, and it's even worse in my opinion.
I bet.
It depends, because actually, like, if you're going to South Beach, which is like an island where a lot of the clubs are at, a lot of times on that bridge, it can get crowded and you're just stuck there. There's no way out, and that's hell. But
Dude, 5 o'clock in Houston, you try to go anywhere, you're stuck. Just hit a highway. Nope.
basically any city during like morning hours, people are going to work, or afternoon hours when people are leaving work, it just sucks to drive. So it's like people should just not drive unless it's like nighttime or like noon, pretty much, or the weekend. And actually, yeah, or even the weekends, it can get pretty bad, especially on bridges. Like any bridge anywhere, just a bad place to drive.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Kevin Rivera, how you doing, man? So, you know, anyways, guys, we're gonna actually get this show started, get with the topics. Will still isn't here. I hope he's not dead. So, yeah, anyways, for everyone's watching, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't been here before. And again, check out everyone's channels. The links are in the description below. So, also, let me know how the audio is, if the background music's too loud, if my voice is echoey. Let me know, guys. But let's get started. So, the first topic is Spyro. Spyro Reignited was announced last week, but it wasn't announced for the Nintendo Switch. However, there was a listing on one of Nintendo, I think Nintendo UK's site, to actually get pre-orders. There were people who actually got pre-orders for Spyro Reignited Trilogy for the Nintendo Switch before Nintendo took down the pre-order site. And then IGN IGN interviewed Activision, and they said we have nothing to announce, but they did not confirm or deny it. Anyways, most people seem to be of the belief that it's definitely coming, but when? Amanda, how about you give us your own thoughts before we really delve in?
I think Nintendo needs to really say if they're going to release it or not, because they did that with Crash, where it wasn't announced or anything. But we kind of let it pass because the Switch was in its, like, you know, it was going, like, when Crash came out, the Switch just came out. But I think now it's like, yo, you gotta tell us, is it coming or not on the Switch, so I know which platform to buy it on, and I'll have to buy it twice or be tempted to buy it twice.
Right.
That's my thing. Like, just say, is it yes or no? I'm sure they know. I'm sure they know something.
Yeah.
At least, like, maybe in the works.
Yeah, well, I mean, my impression is, I mean, I feel you. It's just kind of like the fact that they don't announce it, like, that affects where I'm going to buy it. I'm only going to buy it once. I'm only going to buy it once. So either A, I buy it on PS4, or if it's announced for Switch and it's not too much long afterwards, then I'm going to get it on Switch, you know? But
exactly.
You said that you might buy it twice, though, right? So what if that's one of the reasons why they wait, because maybe they can get people to double dip?
That's I guess, the scummy part. I hope that's not their intentions. I don't think it is. But I'm personally just gonna get it for my PlayStation. There's no Switch announcement, but I just think if they are gonna do it, and they know that they should just say it, because it's kind of like what the fuck, like, really?
Yeah.
And they can't really brush it off like Crash, so
Yeah, so
know.
the weird thing is that I believe Crash literally came out a year later for Nintendo Switch, right? So
Yeah.
well, it still hasn't come out yet, for the record, right? It's going to come out, I think, in June or July. So summertime 2018, but it came out summertime 2017 for the other platforms. Of course, the Switch was still young at that point, so that was kind of understandable. But if we have to wait until summer 2019 to get Spyro, that's just kind of ridiculous.
I don't
I
think
won't be
that's the
getting it if that
case.
happens.
I think they're not gonna. The only reason why Crash came out a year late is what I think is that they didn't have plans to do that,
Hmm.
and then they, you know, made it for the Switch. But now since the Switch is out and it's successful, I don't see why they're just gonna pass up on Spyro and then say like in the future on JK we're just joking, here's Spyro on the Switch. I don't
Right,
think
right.
so. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, just the amount of people who aren't gonna double dip, like Andres, like that's just too big. Like you need to announce these things, even if it's coming like a month or two later than the other systems. That's fine. But you can at least tell us because there's gonna be so many people who just pre-order it on the other consoles, and they're just like, well, I'm already gonna get it on this one. I'm not gonna, change it. I mean, you could cancel your pre-order, but a lot of people once they pre-order, they're just like, whatever. They don't,
I
they don't,
don't.
they don't care
Yeah,
anymore.
they're passing up a great offer. Like, most people buy it on the Switch if they, you know,
Yeah.
even add like purple Joy Cons or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Just
Yeah.
doesn't make that much sense to me.
Well,
Why
I
they're
mean, the thing is that we've seen multiple reports already that whenever like third-party games are selling better on the Nintendo Switch in general.
yeah.
When there's some degree of parity, it's I've seen cases where it's 2 to 1. So like I guess for like Sony and Microsoft, there's definitely reason for them to get the advanced release because they don't want to lose out on software sales potentially, right? But
Yeah.
for the third parties themselves, like they should want to get the Switch version out day and date, like the same day, same time as the other platforms. So it's just kind of weird to me that at this point we're still not seeing day and date releases. I think, and I mean, we've talked about Spyro is almost 100% certainly coming to the Nintendo Switch. It's really just a question of when. And if it's coming out in September for the other platforms, that doesn't. I feel like at this point it's already not. I feel like it's safe to say, in my opinion, that we're not going to be seeing Switch come out the same day, or else we would have seen it announced with the other systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's
Yeah.
probably coming later, right? And if that's the case, when does it come out? Because after September, there's so much going on. I'm not sure it'll really fit within the year of 2018 for Switch. So does that mean it's a early 2019 title, or is it even later, like September 2019? Like if we look at Crash as an example.
Yeah, like I love Nintendo, but their lack of communication is like my biggest problem with them. They don't really say a lot.
Yeah,
So everything's like speculation and it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
but
you know, you could just tweet something, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it works to their advantage though when they don't talk, because sometimes we just get rabid. Do you guys remember the whole Chibi Robo craze a couple months
Oh my
ago?
god. Well, that was cute. That was like fun and like jokes, but
That
stuff
was.
like this where like they could tell us a game is coming out so we don't have to buy it twice would be nice. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm just kind of seeing the chat right now, but yeah, Crash had a timed exclusive for PlayStation, which is why we didn't see it on Xbox. But Spyro's coming out for Xbox and Sony, so there's not some timed exclusivity going on here. It's something else. Maybe Nintendo just wants to save it for a Nintendo Direct. Maybe they have some sort of special Nintendo content that they want to put into it. The only way that this can become a good thing, that this lack of an announcement yet, only thing, and guys, please be wearing your tinfoiled hats here, be super skeptical, like, this is just speculation, and I don't think it's likely at all. But the only way that this could be a good thing is if the reason they haven't announced Spyro for Nintendo Switch yet is because they're saving it for an announcement tied with a Smash Bros. Character reveal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which would be really cool, but I don't want to make you guys think that that's a likelihood. That's a not. I don't think it's likely at all. But that's I think it's
They can
possible.
announce the game still, like say, oh, we have the game coming to Switch and an extra bonus.
Yeah,
Wait and see in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nintendo's very trolly sometimes. Like,
absolutely.
but you know, I love them, even though they're like trolls sometimes.
Yeah, you can love trolls. Trolls deserve love.
Yeah, but come on, just a tweet.
Just anything. Just slap the logo on the end of the trailer. You don't have to tell us it's coming at the same time. Just, I
And
mean,
they have plenty of more announcements. They don't need to like hype it up or anything.
Right, it's not like they need to save it because there's just so much coming out for Switch. But you know, is I guess Spyro in general. Like I've never actually played Spyro before. I've played it, but I've never owned it. Right, I never owned a PlayStation 1, and Spyro back then just seemed so cool to me. I wanted more time with it, and now I have this opportunity to just play this much more beautiful version of it. And I've heard that they're gonna do little minor things to make it feel modern, not like take away from what it is, but like just subtle things that make it feel less clunky. Because back in the 90s, we were still figuring out 3D platformers. So
yeah.
I'm pretty excited for this. I
Me too.
hyped for an opportunity to actually play the real Spyro games, not that Skylander stuff.
Yeah, I'm like really excited too. I kind of like what they're doing, like remaking old games. Kind of feels like they're preserving it. Like it's not going to be lost in time somewhere, but so it warms my heart to see that. But that's just me. I get really like, aw. But
Well,
I get nostalgic.
I see where you're coming from though. Like I feel like I still have nostalgia for Spyro, even though I didn't play it, because I still have like those small few memories of when I did get to play it as a kid, right? Like just like when you're a kid, everything seems grander, more mystifying, and like I remember playing as like that little purple dragon, and like there were these green fields, and I just wanted to figure out how to fly. I didn't figure it out, but like it was just so cool, and I only played it like the one time where I did play it for like a couple hours. So
yeah, imagine like Spyro fans.
Right, who actually played through the whole game as a kid. Like, yeah, I can only imagine just the amount of... It's kind of like if they were to completely, like, remaster Ocarina of Time. Like, like in that, like, 2011 tech demo style. Like, imagine that. Like, that could happen in my dreams.
Or just with that one there's this one YouTuber who's just remaking it on Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
If that was just the whole game would look like that, actually worked, because obviously he's just one guy, so you can't make it. It looks good, but like totally does not work at all. But if Nintendo did something like that, that'd be amazing. But as far as Spyro, like I had a PS1. It was actually my dad's PS1. I was like knee high to a grasshopper, as they say back then. But
who says that?
Nobody. I don't say that. I don't ever say that. But I thought it'd be funny. Anyways,
grasshopper.
Grasshopper. But my dad let it. Funny story. My dad let one of our friends borrow it, and their house burned down along with the PlayStation. So,
oh my god,
no more PlayStation 1 or house. They're fine. They were.
God.
Oh, sorry.
It's a sad story, but it's been like 10 plus years. It's been a long time. But yeah, so never got to play Spyro or any other PS1 games.
Oh
man! And on that note, with Spyro burning down,
yep, Spyro burning to the.
Let's move on to the next topic. We'll get to the chat and then go to the next topic. But Spyro Reignited Trilogy, it's coming this year, and I'm really excited about it. You guys are excited about it, so I'm sure we'll be finding more about it pretty soon. But let's see what people are saying in the chat, though. Actually, I saw something interesting by Kevin Rivera. Let me get to that. Come on, Restream. All right, so he was saying another thing to consider is that the development was hindered by resources. Toys for Bob is making the Spyro remaster. They are also bringing Crash over to the Switch. There's potential overlap. So, I guess it's an interesting point because, like, what if the only reason Spyro hasn't been announced for the Switch is because they haven't had enough resources to port it over because they want to use that very studio that is working on Spyro and Crash for the Switch. So maybe we won't hear about Spyro for the Switch until one of those projects is done, so they can open up enough resources to get the team working on the Switch version.
I don't think the Switch version would really be that hard to make, though. I mean,
Yeah, that's
just
what I was
looking at the
thinking.
game, isn't it Unreal Engine 4, which is like handcrafted with the Switch is handcrafted with that engine in mind, and that game is not exactly the graphically intense game. They could probably just straight port it. Like, they don't have to change resources. They maybe just bump the resolution down a tiny bit. Throw it on the Switch. I mean, how hard could that be?
I don't know. So that's why I have to at least consider it as a possibility. Maybe like they are working on it, but they haven't. But it is still kind of like a separate project from the PS4, Xbox One.
Why don't they just tell us that though?
Because
that's my thing. Wait.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, except in this case, it really isn't.
I know it's some business things that you can't just say everything, but
Hopefully it's not that far along. Maybe like if it comes out in September for the other systems, maybe they can. I want to say October just out of hope, but I mean realistically, probably early 2019.
Okay.
If they at least said something, some people would be willing to wait. I'm probably not going to wait. If it was if they say, oh, it's going to come out like at the beginning of November, I'd be like, all right, I can wait for that. But I don't think it will. I hope I'm wrong, but I'll probably just get on PS4, which is not bad. I just like the idea of the portability, though, right? Like, I think it would work.
I don't know. 3D platformers are just so good on the Nintendo console. That's just me, but
no, I agree with you.
I don't know. Taste, but I hope they, give us some details about that soon.
Yeah, so you guys are... hello, Tatsumi Kimishima. How you doing? So we have the president of Nintendo here, as usual.
The who?
Tatsumi Kimishima. He's the president of Nintendo. He watches regularly. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. He's saying that we need Pikmin 4.
That is sitting on a shelf. As I think these are the words you've used, Andre. So I'm going to steal them here and make me sound awesome and knowledgeable. It's sitting on a shelf. Nintendo's just going to go over there and be like, this is slow. Let's just pull this off, throw it in there. Like
that's what I think.
The game has probably been done for like a million years.
They're probably waiting for a period where, let's say, for example, they wanted to get Pokemon out for November this year, but for whatever reason it gets delayed. They'll be like, oh, well, if we can't have Pokemon, we do have Pikmin 4 just on the shelf here. Let's just plop that in there and no one will know that anything was delayed.
They have like a reserve of games.
I think that's what's going on.
They have the Wii U games, the GameCube games. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Thank you. All that. They still have, stuff to work with. So hopefully they communicate better, but
Right. I see what you're saying there. I feel like a lot of the times their silence is a marketing ploy. And there's actually something else I think might be a marketing ploy, like when they have all this Animal Crossing stuff happen, but we'll get to that later on into the discussion. But we're gonna be why did I exit out games at PAX? That's what we're talking about now, actually, the games at PAX. So I know you guys at least paid a little bit of attention to the games at PAX, but was there anything there that sort of stuck out to you guys?
Oh my,
I wish I was there.
Right. Yeah, like, I want to be able to go there. Like, there was so many people going there, like, all the IGN editors, a lot of YouTubers, like, they were going on parties, they were having a good time. Like, I want to become a part of that social circle. Like, it just seems like so much fun. But I'm not. I'm just here, alone in my room. But, it was cool. And we also got to see some interesting gameplay demos. The two that really stuck out to me were Wolfenstein 2 and Dark Souls. Yes. Both of which I'm definitely getting on Switch. Now, Wolfenstein 2 has already come out. It came out holiday season. But the Switch version was at PAX. And it looked really good. It looked really good. It looked to be running pretty well. And like, yes, when we saw some side-by-side comparisons of the Switch version to the PS4 Pro version. And yeah, the Switch version didn't look as good as the PS4 Pro version. But, you know, I saw Doctray81 point this out on Twitter. But he said that, hey, you know, like, why are all the comparisons between PS4 Pro and Switch? Why don't they just do PS4 to Switch comparisons? Because most people have a PS4, not a PS4 Pro. And, you know, it's kind of like a marketing play, I think. But even when it's the PS4 Pro, the Switch version doesn't look that much worse. Right? And, like, if you were just to play the game, you know, without looking at that version side by side, it looks beautiful regardless. And, you know, considering the fact that it's portable, I think adds a lot of value to it, as I pretty much say for pretty much every Switch game. And I'm excited for it. I think it looks amazing.
Yeah, I have it for the PlayStation, like, Pro, but the Switch does look nice. I don't think they should really focus on comparing them. I mean, I guess, but it's like they're not gonna equal each other, so why compare it? I don't know. Just say one's more, you know, doesn't run as better, but it's portable, whatever. Yeah, they have their pros and their cons.
Absolutely.
But I don't get like the, you know, micro of the comparison, like screen by screen. Like, no.
Yeah.
So there's this terminology that we use here on the internet. It's known as graphic whores. So graphic whores like to see like every graphical comparison possible and really pick things apart, look pixel by pixel. So I think that's kind of why we see a lot of graphical comparisons. And I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy watching graphical comparisons just to see how games look. But you know, I personally never see it as like making one game look worse than the other. It's just kind of like, okay, this is a comparison. But sometimes I feel like they are unfair. Like I said, like if you only show the PS4 Pro version, not the PS4 version, that can be a little misleading. But yeah, I still enjoy seeing the comparisons, and the Switch version has still held up pretty well.
Yeah, it's nothing bad, but some people are just like, take it like too far.
So just a random heads up, guys. I don't know what's going on, but I live in an apartment building, and there's some really loud noises. So I hope that doesn't ruin the discussion too much. But just pray for my safety. Hopefully, it's not like a demon.
It's a dinosaur up there. It's a T-Rex. It's gonna crash down through the ceiling and eat you.
I hope not. That would suck.
It'd be good for views, though. You don't lie.
I'd be done.
I like him.
I'd be done.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as I go, I guess I'll cover both. As far as Wolfenstein goes, this game looks really good compared to the PS4. I think like PS4 Pro comparisons, like why are you even making that a Switch? As you said, like that's the stupidest thing. Just PS4 is like, what is it, like 100 to 1 almost? People who have PS4 Pros versus PS4. It's the stupidest thing ever. It's like, oh, we got this like 1% of people who have this console, but if we compare it to this one, people will get all, you know, roasted in the chat and stuff, and they'll get shook, and it will get all the views. That's totally what it is. They're just like waiting for all the haters to come and be like, oh, I told you the Switch sucks. Let me share it on every public forum so I can roast the Switch some more. But actually, I think the game looks really good. Like, it definitely even looks better. Like, Doom compared to the PS4 and Xbox One looked fine. But this one, I think, actually looks better, even in comparison. Like, it's closer to the PS4 and Xbox One. I mean, especially when you compare it to, like, the Xbox One, which was, like, 800p. Like, it didn't even run at 900p. It ran, like, barely above 720p. And then it ran, like, 50 frames per second. So, like, it's running considerably well compared to the other versions. So I'm not upset at all about how it came out. But as far as just, like, graphics comparisons in general, I like it. It doesn't really determine whether I buy a game unless I own all the systems. Then I'll figure out, you know, which one looks the best and, you know, which one's better for my money. Obviously, it's good in that way. But I just like tech stuff, and I'd like to see how technology advances. And it's really interesting to me to see how close this teeny tiny little handheld can get to this big home console. You know, so that's just my opinion. I don't really use it too much for like, oh, this is a way better console because it looks prettier. No. So I just like seeing it because I'm just super tech nerd, I guess.
Yeah, it's like If it's really bad, I would notice and I won't buy it, but I don't get like the micro comparisons. Like,
Mhm.
you won't even notice that stuff unless you like
Yeah,
zoom
most of the
in.
time. Yeah,
But
it can get pretty ridiculous.
some people like that. So
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just, whatever, man. The game looks great. I'm gonna get it on the Switch, so I don't care.
It
You know?
does. Like
Uh,
when I was watching it, just the Switch version, like I thought it looked really good. And then you compare it to the PS4 version, like, oh, the PS4 version's like a lot clearer. But I
yeah.
mean, then you compare it to the Xbox version, like, oh, those look almost the same.
And then
So,
bring the
like,
PC version. Oof.
oh yeah, I have a gaming PC, so like, and I still play the Switch more than that. So like,
Yeah, it's all like preferences, but at this point.
it's
yeah.
all about the games. It's just like I think the Switch just has more interesting games. So
So, what do you guys think of Dark Souls?
Uh,
It seemed to
I
be
don't
running
know.
pretty well on the Switch. In fact, like
Mhm.
people were talking about how like they didn't really try to implement a lot of additional graphical effects into Dark
Mhm.
Souls on the Switch for the Switch version, right? They really just focused on making it run well and putting it in 1080p and just making more of a clearer version of the game. And like a lot of people apparently are starting to prefer that over the PS4 and Xbox versions because those versions
Right.
have graphical effects that are sort of taking away from the original art style a bit, and a lot of Dark
Mhm.
Souls fans are kind of liking, hey, like Dark Souls Remastered on Switch is a better looking version of the original. It runs smoother and it's at 1080p, but it still sticks to the original style, and a lot of people are
Right.
actually liking that. And apparently, it runs well. It plays really well on Switch, and I've become a Souls fan as of late because I got into Bloodborne and I really loved it on PS4, and I plan on getting Dark Souls for the Switch now. And hearing that it's running really well and playing really well on Switch at PAX is very reassuring to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
cool.
mean, back on the when it released, I did a graphics comparison between it and the 360 version, and I mean, it's as you say. There's like no graphical enhancements other than resolution and frame rate, but I don't think that really matters too much, just because like the original ran at like such a low resolution and such a bad frame rate. Like the frame rate was just terrible. Some parts of it were like, especially in a Souls game where it's so hard and you have to be like, really, really good at it, and you just have to have these almost like, pixel perfect, moves you have to pull off and stuff to not die. I feel like the frame rate is the most important thing, and then just, I mean, the game holds up for sure. I mean, it was way beyond what should have been on the 360 and the PS3. I mean, it's just why it ran so bad on those consoles and had such a low resolution. So, I mean, 1080p with a pretty steady 30 frames per second, I'm happy with it. I haven't seen the PS4 version, so I don't know about these whole different changes that don't look as good as the original. I don't know about that, but I do know that compared to the 360 version, it looks good.
Yeah, I'm not saying it looks worse. All I'm saying is that there are some people who seem to prefer like the
Mm-hmm.
lack of these additions because they seem to change the style a little bit. So there are a lot of
Yeah.
Dark Souls purists out there.
Um, Personally, I'm not really into Dark Souls or the Soul series because of the difficulty.
It's
Like,
the anti-Detective Pikachu.
my God, like tried to play Bloodborne, and holy moly, I got so stressed. And I was at the first part, like, ugh, it was a disaster.
Yeah,
So,
I died a lot playing Bloodborne, and I eventually got the hang of it. But initially, it was just kind of like death, 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 death. But I did get
yeah,
the hang of it after a little while.
I don't see how that's fun to some people, but I
I
just know that there's gonna be a lot of broken switches
Right.
with Dark Souls. Like,
I've heard the joke. They may need to like release like a bundle that comes with like a case for the Switch to protect it, from being broken. Like you put a rubber casing over it as you're playing it, so when you throw it, it doesn't break. That may actually be a good business idea. Um,
or like if you're in public and you lose and you just, oh my gosh.
well, like a good example is like for me when I've played like Celeste, right? That game is pretty hard. It's been pretty frustrating. Like I'm holding my Switch, right? Like look, my Switch is right here. I'll be holding my Switch, and sometimes I'm just like kind of like twisting at the Joy Cons a little bit, like, because
People look at you weird, like, what?
yeah. So the frustration is kind of there, but I I don't think I'll ever break my Switch, but maybe there will be some people. Hopefully, it's just that joke isn't funny because it's true, but it might be.
I don't think people will use the Joy-Cons. I think the Pro Controller is. I don't see how people could pull that off with Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I'm sure most people will use the Pro Controller.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even have a Pro Controller yet. I have like the wired ones, but I don't have like the wireless one because these things are expensive.
Yeah, but it's so worth the money. Like.
Yeah. When you're broke, when you're broke AF, you don't get the cool stuff. That's why you can't have nice things.
I think it's an essential, but that's just.
Yeah. Are we ready to move on from the PAX stuff, or is there anything else we want to bring up from PAX?
No.
No, really.
Well, let's see if anyone brought anything up in the chat. So, Sabbath64 was actually asking, how do you think a Call of Duty game will run on the Switch? So, thinking about it, actually, there may be some trouble with Call of Duty, not because it shouldn't be hard to run on the Switch, but because I believe Call of Duty usually shoots for 60 frames per second, and usually when you take a port from the PS4 Xbox One version, you usually take it from 60 FPS to 30. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen on Switch. They may need to get back on that sort of Wii sort of scenario where they had a separate team making the Switch version. That might be needed in order to make sure Call of Duty runs at 60 frames per second. So that may be why we haven't heard of a Call of Duty game for Switch yet, because 60 frames per second is so important for that game, and it's kind of like the standard no matter what, even back during the Wii era. Maybe that's why we haven't heard about it yet. They're trying to figure out a way that they can get a consistent 60 frame per second version of the game coming out for Switch as well.
Yeah. I have no interest in Call of Duty, but the more the merrier, so.
I mean, I do think, as the Switch becomes more of a mainstay, and more mainstream, right, like they need to get Call of Duty on the system because Call of Duty is a big deal. And it'll be hard to... It needs to start coming to the system sooner or later.
What about Fortnite?
I think it should definitely come. Right, like if it can work on mobile, like it should definitely come. There's like no reason for it to not come. I feel like it's also kind of like a question of when, not if.
Yeah, like I'm not even into Fortnite, but I'm kind of like, why do they have it on the phone but not on the Switch? But...
Right. I think it's just a matter of time. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear about Fortnite by E3.
Yeah. That game is, as you said, it's on cell phones. It's coming to Switch. Like, there's no way it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what the holdup is. Like, I think it'd be out already. Maybe they're waiting to launch it alongside their online service.
That could be a thing, actually. Maybe that's why we haven't heard about Call of Duty or Fortnite, because of the whole online infrastructure of the Switch right now. Maybe they need like Nintendo's online service to be able to, really have a decent online setup for these games.
Yeah, that's
could be.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that like confuses me about the Switch is why isn't there an online feature, especially because it's like portable? I mean,
they have the online service coming out in September, which I think...
Where's the voice chat? I don't know.
Hopefully in September we have all those questions answered. I feel like September is a long time. It's basically like a year and a half after the Switch released. But, I think that's at least...
delayed it several times.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, like, it's hard to... Even when you're a Nintendo
apologist...
to
come out in, like... Look, what? But like August last year or September of last year, so they delayed it like a whole year.
They needed one like on the Wii. I don't know why they didn't think of that. Like, there's no online features. You could add friends and stuff, but you can't really do anything past that.
It's their online history's been so bad. I mean, the original Xbox has had better online than anything Nintendo's had so far.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what are you doing, Nintendo? Come on. This is like the only thing that Nintendo is like just behind the times. Usually they're like, lately they've been pretty good about, keeping up. But now it's just like, Maybe this online service will be that final thing where old Nintendo just dies. They become new, the full, their final form of new Nintendo that is, actually knows stuff, and it's not just a bunch of
Yeah.
old guys in a boardroom like, oh, we have to do this because it's the way it's been done for 30 years.
Yeah, so
Maybe.
that kind of like what went through their heads at that time, but
So I guess we'll find out eventually, right? Like in September we'll have our answers. Maybe by E3 we'll have our answers. But it is bad that it's not all together yet. But hopefully by the time Nintendo's online service is ready, we'll start seeing more announcements for things like Call of Duty, like Fortnite. But I saw Kevin Rivera, he brought up that maybe some of the bigger challenges has to do with making sure there's a fixed frame rate between both handheld and docked.
Yeah.
That could be that may be the case.
Honestly, I looked up how it ran on the original Xbox One because that's probably the closest comparison you can get to the Switch, because the difference between those consoles isn't that huge. Even the original Xbox One was running at like really low resolution. So I'm like, oh, yeah, they might have to do some big changes because it does not look good on the original Xbox One. So I'm like, looking on the Switch, I'm like, it's gonna look like you're looking through it like you threw some dirt on your screen. It's like, you just put smudges all over your screen, put like a blur effect over the whole game. That's how it's gonna look on the Switch. So I'm like, yeah, maybe they should work on that a little bit longer. Get out something that looks decent.
So I have a question for you guys. Stab64 had this question for us. Have any of you guys seen Ready Player One?
Nope.
I have.
What did you think?
It was a good movie. Had a bunch of like problems, like telling the story. There's a bunch of, I don't want to spoil, but there was like a bunch of like plot, like things that were missing, and I just didn't really feel for the characters.
Okay, I heard there was like not really Nintendo representation.
I heard that, and then I got salty, and then I didn't watch it. No, just kidding. But I did hear that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll be frank with you. I feel like, if you're gonna have a movie about video games, and you're not gonna mention Nintendo, like,
what are you
doing?
Probably
copyright stuff. But...
yeah, that might be.
Yeah. Which
honestly,
maybe Nintendo should be more loose about that, though. Like, because you have these movies coming out which are gonna affect like people's like idea of video games a little bit, right? When you don't see Nintendo mentioned, I feel like, for those who don't know about the video game industry, they may think that Nintendo's not really that big of a deal. You know what I mean? But like Nintendo, like the video game industry wouldn't even really exist right now if it wasn't for Nintendo. Like they're that important. So when I see movies like this and I hear they don't really have Nintendo stuff, that kind of throws me off a little bit. And
that's probably Nintendo's doing like copyright stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, after the original Mario Bros. Movie, they've just been scarred for life. They're just like, never again.
But
well, we'll see. They have a Mario movie in the works.
I like Ready Player One, but as a video game, like, it had a lot of references which are cute and a lot of things that I could relate to. But as a movie, it was a bad, like, paced movie.
So it's just all nostalgia, essentially.
Yeah.
Without Nintendo nostalgia.
I mean, it's okay. As a person who read the book, I could see the problem.
You read the book, okay.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a book.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this movie until I just heard about somebody mention it on some other podcast I was listening to, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's missing quite a lot. But...
okay. Yeah, I hear that a lot for most like book to movie adaptations.
Except Harry Potter, because that's just the perfect series of movies and books. Like, it's so good.
I mean, I read the books before I watched the movies, and so like, I felt like the movie adaptations for Harry Potter were really good.
Yeah, they were like super close.
What do you think, Amanda? Did you read the Harry Potter books before you watched the movies, or?
No, I started with the movies.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't read the books. But Ready Player One, I mean, it didn't need to stick to the books, but just like common knowledge, like or like some elaboration on some things, because the movie, if you would have gone in so much questions and it was so like, I guess, generic, especially the giant corporation villain thing, and the girlfriend had like this scar. I mean, I thought she was like had like this big scar that deformed her face or something, but it just a little, she still looks hot. Like, I didn't get what the, I get the sentiment that, you know, he likes her not for her looks, but she didn't even look that bad. It kind of throws that away, but
Right.
I don't know. I just had a bunch of problems with the
So
movie.
when I saw like the commercials for this, like the trailer, like I never watched the movie, but I got the vibe that like, hey, the idea for this movie, it felt to me like some dudes in business suits in a business meeting room were like, hey, what movie can we make that will make a lot of money? Oh, why don't we make this movie that appeals to the video game industry? Oh, do you play video games? What's a video game? What, a box X? Like, that's like the impression I got when I saw the trailer. Like, oh, these are the people who play in the movie. People who don't actually play video games. So, like, you know, I feel like a lot of the stuff that they do to appeal to the gamer is kind of more like notes that they got from other people, not really the people who have full creative, like, license over what's going on here. That was my impression, at least. Right, which is probably why it didn't suck that much. Imagine, you know, if there wasn't even a book.
Like, yeah, it was kind of heavy with the, not only gamers, but like geek culture and stuff like that, which is fine, but the way they structured the movie as a person who loves movies is awful. But
yeah, it looked very generic to me when I saw the trailer, and I just like, it looked like low budget and generic.
Yeah,
like, not interested.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's gotten so much media. I didn't realize it was going to be, you know, even this
I
big
thought
of a
it was
deal.
going to be like this movie nobody talked about. Like, it came out and then it just disappeared.
So let's stop talking about this movie because no one's talking about it, right?
Let's make it disappear.
Let's move on to the next topic. All right. So, No More Heroes 3, right? So basically, we saw you know, Travis Strikes Back, you know, featured at PAX, right? We got to see some demos of it. From what I've heard, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good, at least co-op experience, but it isn't your traditional No More Heroes kind of game. However, there was an interview with Suda51, you know, the maker of No More Heroes, and he basically said he's hoping that this game, Travis Strikes Back, sort of raises up the awareness for No More Heroes and really sort of gets people excited because he would like to make No More Heroes 3. He even has an outline for the game already written out. So this isn't like official confirmation that the game is coming, but it is sort of like giving fans even more hope that this game, the No More Heroes, could be coming. But it may come down to how well, you know, Travis Strikes Back actually does. Now, I'm pretty sure it's going to be an eShop game. I don't know the price. That may be revealed already. I'm not sure. Forgive me for not checking that. But I think it could be a fun game to pick up, but, you know, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the entire franchise. What do you guys think? Do you think No More Heroes 3 is definitely on the way, or does it depend entirely on the success of Travis Strikes Back?
I've never heard of the series until, like,
Me either.
yeah, but I mean, I hope it succeeds. I don't want anybody to, like, lose their favorite game or anything, but
let me make a correction. Travis Strikes Again, not back. So, thank you, No Filter Nintendo Podcast.
Yeah, so I hope it succeeds in what it wants to do. As for Travis Strikes Again, I don't think I'm gonna pick it up. If it interests me, I might pick it up. But like I said, I didn't know anything about the game.
Same here. Like, I didn't know anything about this. Like, January 12th, I'm flashing back to January 12th, 2017. Suda51 walks on the stage. He's talking about Travis Touchdown. I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about here. Like, who's this guy? What is he doing? Why do we care?
What is this foosball game?
Yeah, I was just like, why does he have a baseball bat? I don't know. And
I thought it was football. It says touchdown.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what's happening anymore. So, like, I really hope that they release, like Kevin Rivera just said in the chat, actually, like it just popped up, I think, that they release a port of the first 2 games, because like I don't know who the hell this character is. Why do I care?
Yeah, like a
I want to
Bayonetta
know.
1 and 2 style sort of
Yeah.
port, but except, you know, in HD, because the No More Heroes 1 and 2 came out for the Nintendo Wii, and maybe it's why you guys didn't really hear about it, because it was popular back in the Wii era, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty good games, man. They're pretty good.
I've heard, and I'm like, I want to try them out. I want to learn about this character, but it's just like I don't really have any way of playing these games.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of Killer 7? So like it's sort of like the spiritual successor to that. Like, so basically it's like a cell shaded kind of game, sort of like Wind Waker, but like a much more darker palette. And Travis, you know, Touchdown, he's like this nerdy gamer, right, who becomes a hitman with a lightsaber, right? And he has this really like punkish sort of like, you know, pseudo nerdy but really cool attitude, and he basically has to kill people. That's his job. He has to kill people. He has to hunt down these like other like epic bounty hunters and fighters, and he fights them and duels them, and it's a bloody, like, beautiful, visceral mess, and it's awesome, right? And that's basically No More Heroes 1 and 2, and
Sounds cool.
It is cool. It is cool. It's like the definition of cool, right? So like No More Heroes.
Look up cool and No More Heroes. Just slaps on.
Right, exactly. So when I saw this spin-off title, you know, I was actually hoping that it was gonna still be like that gameplay style, but maybe just like a shorter version of it. And it's not really the same style at all. But it still looks fun. It just looks like a spin-off. Which is exactly what it is, a spin-off. And I hope that if this, for whatever reason, doesn't succeed as a spin-off, that we still get No More Heroes 3, because that would be an epic game on Switch. And what they really need to do, as Kevin Rivera pointed out, is release a port of these 2 games, hopefully like an HD remake of them, which wouldn't be too hard. Like, it'd be kind of like the Wind Waker HD treatment, just, you know, put it in widescreen, you know, a wider angle, HD resolution, maybe fix up the lighting a little bit, and that's it. Like, it's all you really need to do to make this game still playable and fun and look good in this day and age. And yeah, I really hope that if this spin-off doesn't sell well, that they'll still work on it, because it's a different game. You know, I feel like they shouldn't use one game to determine another when they're 2 different types of games. But I still feel like it's still going to work out, because it's an eShop game, and like, if you see the eShop sales, like, there are games that I'm worried that won't do well, and then I find out they do well, like Celeste. Like, it is doing pretty well on the eShop. So, you know, I have hope, and I don't feel I'm not too worried that No More Heroes 3 will come, because I think Travis Strikes Again will sell at least okay.
I think I better, you know, look into how No More Heroes 3 would sell would be to release a 1 and 2 port, because, you know, the same gameplay style. You can't look at a spin-off and, like, maybe people don't like what you changed. Maybe people don't like this version, but they would like a No More Heroes 3. So I don't think I think you said this earlier, Jack. You just mentioned this, but I don't think it's a very good metric for judging that.
Yeah. So, you know, hopefully it happens. You know, I know you guys don't know too much about this series, so I guess we can kind of move on and just kind of get to the chat here, because some of them are talking about it. But actually, who was it? Sabbath was asking about Sushi Strikers. So Sushi Strikers actually looks like a really fun, like, eShop game. I'm pretty excited about it. So you guys should look into Sushi Strikers, guys. I think it's actually gonna be a really fun game. I hope it succeeds. It might take off. It might go a little viral. You know, it's kind of like the beauty of the internet these days, that some smaller games have a much better shot now, because we have things like Twitter and memes and Instagram and Facebook, where a lot of these games can still sort of get popular and people can learn about them without some sort of mega marketing campaign, which I hope also works out for Travis Strikes Again, for the record.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same here.
Cool. So, what was it? I just see No Filter saying hashtag Travis touchdown for Smash. Actually, if there's any third-party character that I think should be in Smash Bros., like, for sure, I mean, Travis Touchdown is like a really good fit because like he's only been on Nintendo systems. I think there was like one PC version for I think the original No More Heroes, but aside from that,
360 port as well, but I'm not sure.
there may have been, but basically, No More Heroes has always gone the focus on Nintendo systems, right? And he's pretty popular. He has like a decent cult following, so there would be a lot of people who'd be pretty excited about it. And also, him being in Smash Bros. Would do wonders for the series because the series does deserve more of a spotlight. Hopefully, it helps the indie games sell pretty well. It helps maybe if they do bring out a port for 1 and 2 and the No More Heroes 3. There's a huge potential here to really like have like a No More Heroes renaissance. Like imagine if this Travis Strikes Again does well, they release the ports, they have Travis Touchdown in Smash Bros, and then they have No More Heroes 3. All of that is possible, and if you're a No More Heroes fan, that would be a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just quick something to say real quick. Apparently, it did get an enhanced port to the PS3 and 360. So, if they do want to port to the Switch, they already have, at least for the first game, a little bit of a more graphical base to work on there for a Switch port. So, that could be good for people who want to buy that.
Right. I mean, they could just run it at 1080p and improve this frame rate or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. So, I actually didn't check on the price for Sushi Striker. No Filter saying it looks pretty good, but he was hoping it'd be a $20 release, which leads me to believe that it's not a $20 release. I didn't actually check on the price for it. Does anyone know the price offhand? I'm literally Googling it right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too. Let's see.
Sushi.
As soon as the web page will load, here we go.
What's the price for it?
So they can
on
buy it physically, but it
Nintendo.com.
won't tell me how much.
It might be different depending on which version you get.
GameStop is listing it for $40.
Oh no.
40. Yeah, that's the way I'm getting it.
But that's the thing though. Like people are assuming that the style makes it seem like an indie game. But when I've seen the gameplay and I see like for example, like the cutscenes are like a straight up like an anime, right? And it has like full voice acting during the animation, and apparently it's like a very fluid game. It has a lot of style.
I mean, the gameplay just doesn't interest me.
They need to show that off, not the like.
I mean,
I thought it was an indie game.
I believe it's a Nintendo published game, actually.
They showed that off like during last E3, during the Treehouse as a special announcement. Like that is not the way to show that game.
I thought it was just like an eShop little exclusive
Nope.
indie title.
Nope, it's a bit bigger. There's a bit of a budget to this game, actually.
Like
so
physical reviews and everything.
Right. I think it's one of those games that might not do well because of the pricing, and that's the unfortunate truth. However, Nintendo has the ability to launch a free demo for this game, which may give it a shot. Because from what I've seen of it, I want this game a lot, actually. And it's a good co-op experience, too, from what I've heard. And which is actually what's really exciting me about both Travis Strikes Again. I keep on wanting to say back because, Star Wars. But,
the game is so weird. It's like, it's almost like you got the subtitle in front of the main title. So it's like, Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. Like, that doesn't sound right.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just me and Star Wars. But, both these games, I think, are, from what I've heard, have actually pretty good co-op modes. And for the record, Sushi Strikers actually has online, which, is a big question mark for a lot of Nintendo games. It has online co-op, or multiplayer. So, I think both these games could be really fun, and I want some more, multiplayer kind of games for my Nintendo Switch.
It's only on the 3DS, right?
No.
No, it's coming to Switch, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming for both, actually.
Okay.
Both.
So I kind of care about it, but... I mean, my thing is just, the gameplay. I like animes, and I like, it kind of looks like it has a funny story, but, the gameplay just looks boring. I don't really like puzzle games. I like puzzles in games like Zelda, but I don't like puzzle games, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's just, I can't get into it because I'll be bored the entire time I'm playing it, except maybe during the cutscenes, which I could I'm not gonna pay $40 for a game that I hope the cutscenes redeem the gameplay,
Fair enough. I mean, you were talking about not even getting Crunchyroll, right? And that's $5 a month for a lot of anime in HD, right? Which their only job is for you to watch it. So you know,
Yeah.
I see your argument there that you know having like anime cutscenes with voice acting isn't necessarily enough to justify a $40 price. I understand that. But I think a demo will do a great job to really give this game a shot. So
It's just not for me personally. Like, I don't think it'll be a bad game. It's just like those kind of games don't appeal to me. Like, anybody else can like it. If you like puzzle games, you'll probably think it's really awesome. I just don't really like that kind of like
I like puzzle games
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I love Tetris for the record, which is like
I hate
the
Tetris.
ideal.
I suck at Tetris.
If you hate Tetris, what's wrong with you?
Tetris makes me
I hate
rage.
you. You hate Tetris. I hate you. Like seriously, come on.
Okay, I don't hate Tetris, but I hate playing it.
So
Which means I hate it.
I'm just gonna address a question in chat. I hope he's still here. Hector Pokemon was asking, when will Hawaii Shakedown be available for Switch? It's been like 1 year of his announcement since last year. I did a quick Google search because I didn't actually know the answer. But apparently, according to Google, the initial release date for Shakedown Hawaii was May 1st, 2017 on the Nintendo Switch platform. Which happened a long time ago. I don't know if that's true. Either A, it's available and you just can't see it on the eShop. You may have to search for it on the eShop and it's just not available on the front page or something.
It didn't come out.
Or Google is just wrong. Actually, I could test this right now with my.
There were a lot of indie games in that first
dandy
indie game showcase that still aren't out.
Nintendo Switch.
Like
I'm gonna search it. I'm gonna prove if Google is wrong or not.
Warhammer.
Warhammer.
I think that's it. I don't know. There's a really cool game that was announced.
Right. I mean,
indie
there's a lot of games that have not come out yet. Like whatchamacallit? Like the shooting game that has like the sort of like Aztec sort of style. What's it called? Where they get bigger and smaller.
Oh, it had some weird name.
Yes.
I
you
know
what
the
I'm
name.
talking about.
Yes.
Right. If I search Hawaii, this game should come up. If it's assuming it's available. Nope. Nope, doesn't seem available. Yeah, so it looks like Google's just wrong. I don't know what to tell you, Hector. I think this is one of those games that just hasn't come out yet.
It may have been delayed. There were a lot of them that were delayed.
And it's just not popular enough to even get updated on Google, apparently.
Right.
Yeah,
they may not have an update. A lot of them don't. Morphe's Law still hasn't come out.
That's the game. That's the game. Right. So Shakedown Hawaii is not on the eShop, guys. I decided to just randomly check there. But yeah, so
I need to know the name of this game. The one that's like Advanced Wars. It's like Warhammer or something.
Marty learned to love Tetris. See, he understands. Like even if he didn't love it, he knew he had to love it. So he learned to love it, which is good on you, buddy.
Good for him.
I have a random Tetris list.
She has it. She has like the Game Boy one, which is awesome. That was the first one that I ever played.
Yeah, it's my mom's.
The Tetris that I played on the Game Boy is my dad's. Like, yeah.
I don't think it works though.
Oh, maybe. I feel like maybe it could be fixed, but probably I don't know. Most of the time when Game Boy games die, it's because like the battery. Wargroove, yeah. Good.
I found it. I found the game I've been looking for. I haven't been paying attention to you guys at all for the last like 5 minutes. I've been like I remember this game. I'm like I have to know what it is. It's Wargroove. It's like Advanced Wars, but like medieval
That's another
times.
game.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, it's another game. Yeah,
but it's still
Morphe's Law, the Wargroove. Like what's going on in these games? Hawaii Shakedown. There's no information on this right now. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like it has to come out within a year, which is just a random guess.
Pocket Rumble isn't out yet, but I think we have a release date for that, or maybe it just came out. I don't know, something about that.
So let's just move down the topics a little bit. I scratched it off without even talking about it. The Funimation during PAX sort of announced that there will be a Funimation Now app or something for the Nintendo Switch. They said they were investigating the Nintendo Switch to put an app on there, but they have nothing official to confirm yet. That's basically what was said. At first, people were believing that, hey, there's actually going to be a Funimation app coming really soon for Switch. That still may be the case, but it's not like officially confirmed what it is yet, but they're investigating. So this would be the second app in North America to come out. on the Switch. We got Hulu. We don't have Netflix. We don't have Crunchyroll. You know, we don't have
YouTube.
Amazon Prime or YouTube.
Right, YouTube.
Right. We don't have an internet browser for that matter. So, you know, the Switch is really lacking a lot of these features that we even had on the 3DS, for the record. So,
Yeah, I have YouTube on my 3DS. I'm like, what? Okay.
Bro, I watched like 30 episodes of Naruto Shippuden on my new 3DS XL. Like,
Why?
Because,
Why would you do that?
Because it was when I first moved up here and I was rewatching the series and I had nothing else set up and I was just like, hey, well, you know, I can kind of plop this here and not kill my phone battery and
Yeah, you're watching your 240p show.
I mean,
looks great.
The Switch has no excuse. I don't.
For
it's
the
one
record,
of those situations I don't understand.
I don't.
Yeah, so weird. Actually, Sabbath, they did show Shovel Knight King of Cards gameplay at PAX. So, there's hope for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, I have an official quote for Funimation if you want me to read it just
go
real
ahead.
quick. Alright, it says, "Dear fans, you may have heard some news announcing our Funimation Now streaming app on Nintendo Switch. For clarity, you should know that we did not make that official announcement. Though we would very much like to do that, Okay, this is really weird. Very much like to do just that, and are in the early stages of navigating the possibility. Enthusiasm we are seeking certainly lets us know we have fan support. Yep. Nothing official to announce."
Yeah.
So that's what they said. I said the yep part.
Okay.
I don't know. The whole online situation with the Switch is kind of, it gets me like heated sometimes because I don't get like the logic behind it. Like, I don't know.
There's just things on the Switch that Nintendo hasn't gotten done yet. We don't got themes, we don't have apps, we don't have online, like an actual online network. You know, we don't have like, you know, usernames, like not really. So those are all things that should have kind of happened already. That would have been
Or
given
like,
a big focus on PlayStation or Xbox.
I mean, they should at least give us like, you know, we're working on it, especially in a year in. But why don't you have YouTube when the DS has YouTube? I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
I mean, my view on this has actually changed a lot because, like, I think we've talked about this like way back when you know when the Switch was first coming out. They like just announced it. They're like, oh, it won't have these things. And we were like, what? And I was like, oh, well, why do we need that on? You know, I already have it on my PlayStation and my PC and my phone and my Xbox and my TV even has all these things. And I was like, oh, they don't really need it on Switch. But then I thought of something. I'm like, when you're playing your Switch, you don't really want to close out your Switch and move over to another console and open it up. Especially like if you're playing a PS4 game and you have Netflix on your PS4, or if you like you just finished watching sorry, I said that wrong. So if you just finished watching Netflix and you're like, oh, I want to play a video game. If you're already on your PS4, you're more likely to just play something on your PS4. What Nintendo wants is they want you to play, you know, watch Netflix on your Switch and then start playing Switch games. Because it's just, like, for the consumer, it doesn't really matter that much. But as far as Nintendo goes, like, this could really help, like, getting them more people to buy more stuff because they're no more invested in your system, in your ecosystem, instead of switching over to the competition stuff to do the basic things like watch Netflix or browse the web.
Yeah, like, I think it matters more to the average consumer because they probably don't have all the consoles and stuff. They probably want one console for like everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna see an Xbox or PlayStation does like X, Y, and Z, and then the Switch does just nothing, like just plays games, but they want, you know, entertainment systems, stuff like that, like YouTube, Netflix.
Yeah. And to your it's basic, it really is. But to your point, Brandon, you know, I've brought this up before, I'm pretty sure, but like I kind of binge watched the original Dragon Ball series on Hulu, and I started out doing it on my Switch, right? And I could have just done it on my PS4, but like if I'm playing a game, you know, kind of being able to jump into the Switch when I'm there, it's easier. I don't want to have to get up and change the input. So, but the benefit to the Switch, as you said, Brandon, is that you can literally continue that experience. Like you don't have to change your phone and get on another app and get over there. Like, I can pull out my Switch when I'm watching my television and go to another room if I kind of just want to watch it more casually, or, you know. So, like, the ability of the Switch to sort of change your viewing / playing mode seamlessly gives these apps some value. And, you know, there's reason. There's reason to have it on Switch.
Especially portable. Like, who doesn't want to watch their stuff while sitting in a train or a car or plane or whatever? Or just like in like a doctor's appointment, you're just waiting. You just want to watch a quick YouTube video.
Yeah, you
Right.
Instead of, you know, your teeny tiny little phone.
And if you think about it
from... like this.
And if you think about it from like kind of like a business perspective, right? If you get people playing more on the Switch as opposed to their PS4, they're more likely to buy more games on the eShop. You know what I mean? Like, I will switch to my PS4 less often if there are apps that I, you know, the streaming apps available on the Switch. I won't have to switch over, and I'll be dwelling more on the Switch eShop than the PlayStation
switch
shop.
Over. You just said Switch like 12 billion times in like 3 different ways.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
That's like
transition over to the PS4 as opposed to, you know, the other one.
That's just basic business practice. I don't know why they haven't. I don't know. I've been saying I don't know for
I feel like it's just priorities. Nintendo's prioritized getting games on the system, right? And
yeah, but
in
like
that regard,
all that stuff is basic, so I don't know.
I don't understand how much it like. How do you can prioritize games and the other stuff. I mean, pretty much all you have to do is be like, okay, yeah, you can do that. That's all. Have to say yes.
Authorizing the company to do what they gotta do.
How long does it do? Like, how long does it take to, like, you know, get on the phone and be like, yeah, you can do that. Okay, bye.
I want to move on now, but I think the consensus is Nintendo, hurry up, we want the apps. So you know, just to reference a couple things in the chat, like No Filter literally just said that. He still has his Wii U hooked up just for Netflix, right? Like, the Wii U has all the streaming apps, but the Switch doesn't. You know, it's just kind of like, what?
Don't throw your Wii U out.
Sabbath64 uses his phone for Netflix and YouTube. You know,
I use my iPad. It's over there.
I use my PC.
I like it close. I don't even like watching on my TV.
I use my phone, my Switch, my PS4, my computer, just depending on the moment. Most of the time I'm using my PS4 though. That's where I have Crunchyroll on there. I have Netflix on there. It has an internet browser on there, right? So like it.
I still have a smart TV. Like
I have YouTube on there. Hulu's on there. Like it's just.
I use my iPad. I don't know all the time.
The only reason I could. Oh, sorry. The only reason I could.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's my bad. But the only reason I could think of using a system, because I have smart TVs and a computer and all this stuff, would be the Switch, because then I can take it, like if I'm watching a show and I have to go do something, I can just keep watching the show as I'm going. So like
you can take your Switch and transition over something instead of switching over with your Switch.
Yeah, so like
switching is great.
Having on the PS4, the Xbox One, like I have those consoles. I never watched Netflix or Hulu or Crunchyroll or anything on those. For my PC, my PC is literally right here. I could just use that. I'm on my PC, like browsing the web and like looking stuff up and preparing videos and editing already. So like, but if the Switch had these items, I might actually use the console for these things because I can, you know, get up and do things.
Brandon, I don't mean to cut you off. Well, I actually do, because
that was the end of my point, so it doesn't.
Right, I'm sorry. I tried to go in at a good moment. Basically, we're done with the Funimation app topic because we still have 4 of the bigger, more important topics for this podcast, and we're already over an hour. So I think it's time to move on. But let me answer one quick question on the chat, though. Hector is asking, will Rockstar release GTA games like they did Chinatown Wars for DS and like now LA Noire for Switch? I think they are. There's no confirmation yet, but the speculation is that Rockstar has been in communication with Nintendo. They were sort of upset about the 64GB cartridges not being available yet, but it does seem there's at least a decent chance that Grand Theft Auto 5 could be getting ported to the Switch, which, I mean, kinda. I mean, it's on everything else already. So we'll see, but there's no confirmation yet. Now, there's this topic that was suggested by Sabbath64 from last week. So if any of you guys want to have a user-suggested topic, you know, or a viewer-suggested topic, just make sure to leave it in the comments below, or follow me on Twitter or Discord. You know, all of that's in the description. You want to follow me on different platforms, and we can have other topics that you guys suggest. So anyways, this topic is, well, I called it Smash Scratches, but really it's what do we want to be kind of taken away from Smash Brothers, or if we had to have something not be in Smash Brothers this time around, what would it be? So Amanda, I think you said you already had something in mind when I talked about this earlier. Do you want to talk about that?
The Mario Party board thing. I don't even know what it's called. It's like it looks like a Mario Party thing. Like
Smash
no one
Door.
even knows. Yeah, like that is just pointless. It was dumb. I still don't understand it. I didn't like it. I thought it added nothing.
Okay.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Will is not dead.
Will has made it. Better late than never. Will, are you actually there?
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, man?
He's just like,
Hello, Will?
Yeah, that's it. So,
so just to kind of fill you in.
Amanda.
Yeah. So just to fill you in, we're right now we're talking about Smash Scratches. So Sabbath64 asked if we could have this topic where we basically talk about something that we don't want to be in the next Smash Bros. Something that can be taken out from previous Smash Brothers games or just simply not brought back. And Amanda, you were talking about, like, was it I don't remember, was it a Mario Party item or stage?
it looked like a Mario Party like stage.
You're talking about Smash Tour.
Yeah, that.
Oh, Smash Tour. Yeah, hated it. I didn't like it. It was bad. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I played
Kind
it
of
once
agree.
and I was like, what is this garbage?
No one wanted that, exactly.
It's gonna be hard to beat that one.
Yeah, it is.
And I guess I'll do an item. I would rather not have the beetle from like Skyward Sword, since that's like an auto kill.
That was kind of annoying, actually. I feel like it wasn't that easy to hit people with it, but when you got hit with it, and if you're like playing 4-player or 8-player Smash, like you don't always see it coming, and you're dead.
It was
So-
auto killed.
Yeah.
It was trash. I never turned that thing on. It was like, why?
I mean,
All the other items are
I wouldn't miss it.
Disable that one.
Yeah. I wouldn't miss that item. So, I mean, if it was taken out, it wouldn't bother me. Brandon, do you have anything that you definitely don't want to see in the next Smash Brothers?
That I definitely don't want to see. Mandatory bosses on my stages. Get the hell off my stages. Stop.
They should be
wrecking
optional.
I hate moving stages.
I actually like moving stages. Like, I don't like
Poke-a-floats.
bosses. Like, I'm one of those people who like the crazy, ridiculous. Like, I even like the Ice Climber stage that like moves and just flies around everywhere. Like, I like those stages. I even like the Star Fox one and the Wii U one. Like, I liked that stage. I do not like bosses. It's like, I'm one of those like super casual. Like, I play with most of the items on kind of Smash Brothers player, and I hate the bosses in Smash Brothers. They just suck. They're terrible. I never play the stages with them on because they're just annoying. Definitely, at least mandatory. If it's mandatory, I don't want them there. If you can turn them off, I'm fine. But in the way that they're implemented now, no.
I totally agree with you that one. Like, I like that they allowed you to have, like, you know, the Omega forms where you could, it would just basically be like flat stages for every stage. But I also want there to be a bit more customizability where you can turn off things like maybe moving platforms or, you know, bosses, which sometimes I didn't like. Like the Mega Man stage, sometimes it was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So, were you gonna say something, Will?
No, I said yeah.
Oh, okay. So one thing that I guess I kind of want to be taken out is the online tourney mode from we saw in Smash Wii U. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was implemented, and I was kind of hoping when they finally were going to implement the online tourney mode that we would get normal tourney mode from like say Brawl or Melee, and we didn't see that. So I want them to kind of scrap the tourney mode, rework it, make a better online tourney mode, and bring back the tourney mode that we saw back in Brawl and Melee. Like, I love tourney mode. Those are my favorite things, and the fact that it wasn't in Smash for Wii U, at least in the form that it was previously, was very disappointing to me. So that's something I think they could totally work on.
For sure.
Yep. So, yeah, that was our, viewer suggested topic. So, if you guys have any more suggested topics or questions, let them, put them in the comments. So, actually, just checking on the chat here, No Filter totally agrees. The bosses were annoying. Making them optional would be good. Definitely. Hello, Jeremy Binns. How you doing, bro? Characters. Well, we will... How about characters? I guess he's asking if there's any characters that I don't want. I'm okay with all the characters. Like, I mean, there are some that I'd be okay with not coming back, but there's none that I feel like need to be taken out. So I'm okay with all of them.
Yeah, agreed.
The duck one, Duck Hunt.
No,
you don't like Duck Hunt?
I love Duck Hunt.
He looks so out of place.
His history, though.
I guess like his style, because they remade him, because Duck Hunt used to be like the 8-bit, and they completely remade him, and we had never seen him like that before. Like, I almost want like a new Duck Hunt game now because of that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But it'd also be a good idea though. What if they were to have an 8-bit alternative costume of Duck Hunt? Yeah, like some sort of like, kind of like Game & Watch where it's like flat, but it's 8-bit. That'd be really cool for like actually there could be like an 8-bit version for like every Nintendo character in the next Smash Brothers as an alternate costume. That'd be interesting. I wonder how it would like carry over visually, but I think it'd be at least a cool idea. On paper, it sounds good at least.
That could work.
So let's move on to the next topic. All right. Well, I think he just waited because he didn't want to talk about the smaller topics. He just wanted to save your energy for the
he
main.
came in at the right time, the right moment.
Because now we got the last 3 topics are like the big ones, right? So, right, we still got PS5 rumors, Zeraora being revealed, which for those of you who don't know, that was the final Pokemon of Generation 7, and Animal Crossing. So we're always talking about the PS5 rumors right now. So I'm not going to get into the specifics unless someone here wants to get into the specifics. But basically, the rumors are that PS5 is going to have a more powerful AMD chip. It's going to be using, I think, Ryzen as well, which I think is a CPU. Apparently, they're going to be implementing Navi into that, which I don't really know what that means personally. Basically, it's going to be a lot more powerful, right, than the PS4 Pro.
Basically, power.
Right,
I mean, that's to be expected with the next console.
Exactly. There is a couple.
So.
Yeah, there is a couple other things though to it. Apparently, they plan, according to the rumors, they plan on like implementing VR technology into the system on the silicon-based level. So like it will be out of the box. You won't have to buy a VR kit to play VR with PS5. It'll be kind of part of the package, it seems, which is really interesting to me. And
that's cool.
Yeah, like, what do you guys think of that? We'll talk about the other stuff later, but just like the idea that the PlayStation 5 could be like where Sony makes VR mainstream. Is that a possibility here?
I see it, and I like it because VR is so expensive and so much wires. Like, that makes me my anxiety. Ugh, too much wires. So making it easier for consumers is always good because I think VR is a good experience.
Absolutely.
I mean, I played it a few at my friend's house, and it's very fun. It's very like surreal, but it's really expensive.
It's very expensive, and I think the technology isn't there yet, but I think the concept of VR is actually really cool. It's just kind of one of those things where, like, it's still, like, the resolution looks kind of low, at least on PlayStation. You know, I feel like they could do a better job with the controls. Like, if you use a PlayStation, like, Move controllers, like, they don't even have joysticks, which I think is annoying. Like, the Joy-Cons, I think, ideally, are the best. I've brought up my Switch, like, 3 times today already for examples on the podcast. But I think, like, these are, like, the ideal controllers for VR. Because, one, they have joysticks, unlike the PlayStation motion controllers. They're small and comfortable, and you can do everything you need to do right here. So, you know... Ideally, if of course the Switch isn't powerful enough for VR, like the PS4 isn't. There's no way the Switch is.
They have something that looks like a Joy-Con for the PlayStation. It's called the PlayStation Mini. It looks like a Joy-Con. Like, look it up. And like, I'm like, wow, that's like a ripoff.
all
Mini.
their like motion controllers are just ripoffs of what Nintendo's already done.
PlayStation.
I think it's
Mini.
not a motion control. Hold on.
I've never heard of it. You're not talking about
controls.
the things with the colorful
I've
orbs,
seen
right?
that.
Or is it something else?
I've seen that.
Here.
I was actually thinking of getting that.
I think I have a picture right here. Hold up.
I see it just looks like a classic controller. Unless
It
it's
looks like this.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
It's
but
just a classic control.
but you can't take it apart though, right? Like
No,
right.
but
yeah,
that's the closest I see to like.
yeah, I mean you could take that, you could put that into 2 pieces and it would, you know, work.
You know, it could do that. So
It does
I don't know.
kind of look like a clunky Joy-Con though.
It does,
Yeah.
but does it have motion controls?
It looks like
I don't think so.
classic controller from like the Wii era. That's what it looks like
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I think the frames were dropping a little bit, guys. So let me know if the podcast is still flowing well. But I did notice the frames were dropping for a little bit there. But yeah, like I don't think we're there yet in terms of VR technology. But like the PS5 could be that, but it still could be really expensive because if it still comes with a headset, I'm like, imagine like a headset, a more powerful system. It still has to come with a standard controller as well. Maybe you still bring like motion controller, something like Joy-Cons, right? Like that's a lot. That's a lot to have, and I feel like Sony wants to hit that $400 price tag. So, which sort of brings me to another point. The rumors have also included the possibility of PS5 coming out late 2018. I don't think that's happening, and I don't think it's a good idea. But what are your guys' thoughts on it?
Bad idea. Bad idea. If it's gonna come out, it should play all the PlayStation 4 games. I don't know. Honestly, I just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be yeah, I definitely agree, man. It should be backwards compatible. Like for the whole PlayStation line. I think they have like one of the most healthiest libraries between systems. Like other than Nintendo, obviously. But like Nintendo can't do backwards compatibility. I wouldn't be surprised if we heard something about it this year, but I don't know about it releasing this year.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't feel like it makes sense from a business perspective because you just launched the PS4 Pro and PlayStation VR, right? So if you launch the PlayStation 5 this year, like people are gonna feel burned. Like Amanda, you were saying earlier before we started the podcast that like, you know, you just got a Pro.
Yeah, that's a good upgrade. It could hold me off for a couple of years.
Yeah. Personally, I feel like 2020 would be the best date. Like, I think it'll just be the healthiest time to do it, you know? It would be comparable to the PS3 era in terms of how long, because I think the PS4 came out 2012, right? That would be
2013, I think. We used 2012, right?
Yes, you're right. Wii U came out 2012, PS3 and Xbox One came out 2013. So if it
PS3.
came out...
You said PS3.
Yeah, I'm all over the place, guys. The PS4 came out in 2013. I'm sorry, there's 3s and 4s everywhere. But the PS4
Too many
came out...
numbers.
Yeah, 2013 along with the Xbox One, right? And 2020 would put it at the 7-year area, which is what the PS3 had. The 360 was actually 8 years. So, you know, like, I think that would be a healthy period to end the generation. If they did it now, like we said before, with both the PSVR and the PS4 Pro being out, it kind of reminds me of the Sega situation. So, like, no, I was just a baby back then, right? In the early 90s and such. But I read books on the history of like Sega and such, and like they had the Sega Genesis, but they had multiple like different versions of Sega Genesis. But then they also had the Sega CD, which could combine with the Genesis, and they also had the Sega 32X, which could combine with the Genesis. And then shortly after they released those, they came out with the Sega Saturn, all within like 2 years. So fans were like, oh, there's thousands of dollars worth of hardware here. What do I get? And it was very confusing, and people didn't know what to buy, and people were upset that they had to buy even more stuff. Like they made their, like for example, when the Saturn came out, it made like the 32X seem like not worth it at all. So it wouldn't be as extreme of a situation, but I don't think it would be a good idea. Like releasing too much hardware upgrades, I think, can really upset fans.
Exactly.
Honestly, in my opinion, I think 2019 is the earliest they can do it. I could see 2019, like holiday 2019, because that's 3 years after the PS4 Pro comes out, and that seems like a good gap because it's just the PS4 Pro is not a new system. That'd be 6 years for the PS4, and I mean you gotta remember, like the PS3 and the Xbox 360 area, that's like a fluke. None of the other systems lasted that long. This is not usually 7 to 8 year life cycles for a single system. That just doesn't really happen. Like that was just like this weird thing that happened, and it was just crazy like how long those were out. So I think 6 years for the PS4 and 3 years for the PS4 Pro would be fine enough, especially if they keep supporting the PS4 Pro, because I think the PS5, whatever jump it's going to be, it's not going to be so big that it puts the PS4 Pro like out of the water and just like you can't no longer support it. So I think they'll keep supporting the PS4 Pro, probably kill off the PS4 original. I mean, that's 6 years. That's done. You don't want to keep making too many games for that at that point. Maybe support it for like a year or so, but the PS4 Pro I think will be supported, and then the PS5 will be backwards compatible with it. So, and then they'll just keep making games for those two, and then they'll, after a couple of years, they'll make, the PS5 Pro, and they'll kill off the PS4 Pro.
Brandon,
So.
let me make sure I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly. So are you saying that in a few years, right, you release the PlayStation 5, but you still support the PS4 Pro, like you can play the same games as the PlayStation 5, but the PS4 cannot play any PlayStation 5 games, but the Pro can?
Yes.
Okay, as long as they're like actually PlayStation 5 games and not, PS4 games, right? Like, because the PS4 Pro, like the promise is that whatever games come out for that will still come out for PS4. Like they do the same thing, but I guess you could like maybe release an update for PS4 Pro where it can actually play PlayStation 5 games but at lower settings. I think that's actually an interesting idea. Maybe I could see that kind of working out. I still feel like 2019 has got to be the earliest that you come out with it though.
I still feel like that makes sense, except for the fact that the PS4 is still selling like ridiculously well. Like I make all those points, but to kind of devil's advocate my own points, the PS4 is selling ridiculously well. Why would you even? Why I don't think Sony's even thinking about a PS5.
Yeah.
Like maybe they got it in the works in the background, but they're not like, oh, we gotta release the PS5. Like no.
Yeah. They 100% are not rushing that system. They're doing way too well right now.
I think a good example would be the Nintendo 3DS. Like for Nintendo, like that system should be dead. It should have been dead 2 years ago, but it keeps selling. People still have it. You can make money on that system. So guess what? Games are still coming out for it, right? And porting 3DS games over to Switch is way harder than say porting PS4 games would be to a PlayStation 5. And they still support that system. Actually, since we're talking about it, I remember that the PS3 and the 360 still had games coming out for, like important games coming out for a couple years into the PS4 and Xbox One life cycle too. So when the PS5 comes out, I feel like the base PS4 will still be getting a lot of games, for at least another year or two.
Yeah.
I do think we could see it in the near future because Sony has commented like multiple times saying how like the PS4 is slowing down in sales and stuff, and it's not passing their expectations anymore. So yeah, I'd give it a couple of years as well.
So if we had to make a prediction for when PlayStation 5 comes out, what years would you guys pick?
2020.
Okay.
Yeah, go 2020.
Brandon?
2020.
Damn, like All right, so I want to say 20 is preparing,
Yeah.
which makes sense. They should be preparing.
What Xbox does may influence them.
Right.
Depending on, like, if they release a new console and people actually catch on and people see, you know, it's, you know, it
Yeah.
becomes popular and people start asking, you know, like, oh, we need a PS5, that's when they'll release it.
That's a good point. So maybe Sony, if like Xbox doesn't do anything weird, they'll release it in 2020. But maybe the reason we're seeing rumors for it now is that they're just simply thinking ahead and preparing. It's their Pikmin 4 where they just have it. It's been done for a while already, and they're just gonna wait depending on the situation and release it when it's needed. So it could be a 2019 release if Microsoft is like, oh, we have Xbox 24K or something coming out in 2019. But for the record, I don't think Xbox is going to come out in 2019 either. I feel like the Xbox
There's
One
a big rumor that, from apparently credible sources, that Xbox is like really wanting to get out their next console because none of their stuff they're doing right now is doing good at all.
Because they have no games. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't take a genius to see.
Well, they should stop making systems and start making games.
Exactly. That's why I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I do like that Xbox has like a pro-consumer market, and they're just a more pro-consumer company, in general compared to like Sony.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. But they don't really do anything.
But they don't have games,
Yeah.
so I don't care.
If they had games, I would be able to take advantage of being one of their consumers. But yeah.
It's like they're all pro-consumer, except you can't really do anything with the pro-consumerness because there's nothing to play.
Hey guys, quick question. Was there like a disconnect going on between OBS? Because I just got an update saying OBS Studio has reconnected successfully. I'm like, I don't even know what happened. Hopefully it didn't actually reflect in the actual podcast, but it may have.
Let me see here.
I'm skipping through it. It looks fine.
Okay, as long as everything's good. All right, so, yeah, I feel like, you know, Microsoft needs to focus on games here, but I mean, I don't.
I'd say they're all evolving into like their final form. Like I think Nintendo with this hybrid, like this is like the perfect route for them to go, since like this combines all their studios into it's focusing on one system. For a lot of people, this is like perfect for them, and Xbox is sort of trying to become this PC-like platform. Like I feel like that we won't really see traditional generations anymore.
Maybe I do feel like, you know, the original understanding of what a console generation has been changing already. Like Nintendo is just not on the same cycle as the other two platforms anymore, right? Like the Switch is kind of like already the PS5, like Xbox 24K, because I don't have a better name for it. So, you know, like
apparently it's literally going to be called the Xbox 2. That's what the big rumor is. Like
the Xbox 2 is the fourth Xbox.
Nobody's going to like that name.
Fifth Xbox if you count Xbox One X, which is kind of almost semi sort of treated as like a next generation console. Like the Xbox One X is almost like next gen technology already, you know.
If it had a better CPU, it could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Have better games. People would buy it.
Yeah, that would be a true new generation for Xbox. Just more good games. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
They were so good in the 360 generation, and then something happened, and they were like, "Oh, we don't need games anymore.
It's just a console." I'm like, okay.
We'll have 4K menu screens. It'd be amazing.
Right, and it's just weird because, like, you know, Sony has games, and they're doing the whole VR thing. Like, they do distinguish themselves, right? And obviously Nintendo distinguishes themselves. So Microsoft has, like, I mean, Will, you brought up, they're, like, very pro-consumer. Like, you know, you can play any sort of Microsoft game on any sort of Windows. Like, if it runs Windows 10, you can play an Xbox game, you know? So that's cool, but it also doesn't really help the system itself, you know? Like, it's weird.
Like, so, Xbox is, like, the hippie of the consoles. Like, they're more laid back with their stuff.
The markets are my bad.
No, it's fine. Go.
The markets are also like interconnected between the platforms. So a lot of the Xbox 360 games are just sent to, it's like if you own Xbox, you're just in a better atmosphere for consumers. second only to probably like PC or something, because you can pretty much find every game for free there.
Yeah, for backwards compatibility, I mean, Xbox is unrivaled at this point, except by PC.
Yeah.
PlayStation
They've
4 doesn't have any. Nintendo can't have any because they don't take discs, and Xbox is just taking it all.
they even like showcase it. Like, oh, you could play games from way back when.
Which is
So-
cool, except you can't have that as like the main thing your system's riding on. That's like the best thing about Xbox is backwards compatibility. You can't have your brand new $500 console be the best thing about its backwards compatible games.
So
Yeah,
let me
kind of
ask you
backwards.
guys a question. All right, I'm gonna take this conversation in a slightly different direction. So, do you think the PS5 release could impact the Nintendo Switch? Like, what do you guys think this means for the timeline for Nintendo on their systems?
Nintendo does its own thing. It's always have. I don't.
Well, I agree with you, Amanda, but I also think that Nintendo is sort of hitting a stride here where they're actually getting third-party support, right? And the reason it's at least somewhat concerning to me is that if both Microsoft and Sony move on to a newer generation, could it be so different that it could impact third-party support for Nintendo, which they're just now finally getting after like decades? So like, do you guys think that this is a concern in the future, or do you think Nintendo's good?
I think there will always be a game they could support. I don't know. I think they're fine, but
Yeah,
that could be a problem.
Okay.
This is
But
a
I don't
con-
see it like
Oh,
as a
sorry.
big problem. Oh, sorry.
This is a concern for me as well. Like, my problem isn't. I think as far as exclusive third parties, we'll be fine. Like, we'll be getting exclusive third parties as long as the Switch sells. You don't have to worry about that. My thing is just the multiplats. If they become, they're already just barely getting by. Like, they're fine on Switch, but like, they don't run amazingly. So they run good enough to be good games, and you can buy them. They're competent, but they just barely are that way. So if there is a generational leap, especially if one that's CPU bound and has things like extra physics and different environmental things, you can't downscale that. You can't just bump a few resolution. You can't just bump the resolution and take some textures away. No, that is like monumental, like how the game works kind of stuff. You can't port that to the Nintendo Switch. So I'm kind of worried in that way, but I don't know if the PS5 is going to be that though. That's the question. Like, will the PS5 be this thing where they can do so much more in gaming like they're hoping to? So it might be, and if so, that would be a big concern for the Switch as far as multiplats go. But as far as exclusive, I mean, the third parties, they're going to make exclusive games for the Switch. It's just going to happen because it's just selling too well for them not to. So we'll just have to wait and see on that aspect.
Yeah, that's a genuine concern that it would get outclassed. There's only so much. No, I won't go that route. I'd say because if Kimishima we all know that he's planning to expand the Switch audience in multiple different ways that I imagine Microsoft and Sony would never ever dream of being able to reach. I don't see this having like any sort of effect on the Switch at all. Like, I don't think Sony could reach the Labo market or whatever market he's planning to tackle next. Like, he makes sure of that.
So, I think it's an interesting point you bring up, Will, because the Switch has the ability to sort of be geared in different ways, right? Because it has that USB-C port, you have the dock, you have the Joy-Cons, so you can sort of like customize the Switch to do different things, like what we're seeing with Nintendo Labo, right? Now, I think I've brought it up before, but one option to appease that graphical fidelity market is maybe if that sort of supplemental computing device is actually possible and real, maybe a year or two from now they can release a 4K dock, that could allow the Switch to maybe have 4K like stuff maybe 2 years from now if that's possible, right? Or maybe at least something that's sort of in a middle ground for that, so Switch could have games that run similar to say PS4 Pro to, like, I'm not saying like now, right, but if they could do that a couple years from now with like a GPU that can function with the Switch, that might be possible. maybe, right? And then of course, you know, there is other casual markets that can be that Nintendo can gear to, like the Wii Fit market, right? Like they could come out with a whole other sort of branding that's more about like fitness, right? That's different from the Nintendo Labo branding, which is more of kind of like the Lego sort of child audience. So yeah, there's definitely like different audiences they could appeal to by expanding, I guess, the peripherals for the Switch, right? But keeping the Switch as the base unit. But also, if you think about the timeline of things, right, I think it's also possible that by the time the PS5 and the Xbox 2 are in full swing, I think that's possibly maybe 2021, or, you know, like if they come out in 2020, like the PS4 and the Xbox One will still be getting games, you know, to which point I think the Switch can still be running those games. But by 2021 or 2022 is when they'll start going into full swing, and then those systems will be slowing down. And by that point,
it might be time for a Switch 2.
For a Switch 2, exactly. So we could see a Switch 2 or Super Switch, or, you know, something like that by 2021 or 2022.
My problem with like a 4K dock upgrade is that, you know, I'm just worried about the handheld part, because obviously they can release a dock that enhances the docked version. I'm just wondering if we're going to get to a point where the PS5 games just don't work on the handheld very well at all. So
right,
I don't want to see that. I like the handheld version. I don't want to be going around like, oh, I'm playing my 360p handheld. Like, no, it's a 720p screen. I want to get some good resolutions on that.
And it was like a 5-minute battery life.
Right?
Right,
So,
which is why I think that once the PS4 and Xbox One phase out, that's when the Switch needs to move on too.
yes.
You know, like I think they can do well as long as games are still coming out on PS4, base PS4 and Xbox One. The Switch will be fine for third-party support, but it's when they start phasing out that the Switch needs to move on.
I agree. Because I mean, if the PS4 and Xbox One can't keep up, there's no way the Switch is keeping up.
No, exactly. So, is there any final thoughts we have for this topic before we move forward?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I feel like Sony is just fighting a completely different war than what Nintendo fights. So, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So, just, referencing the chat here, Marty saying like, yeah, he's not buying an Xbox One for just 2 exclusive games. That's a good point. Sabbath is saying he wants an Xbox One just to play Rare Replay. I feel you there. Yeah, Switch 2.0, that might be a naming, but if you look at how Nintendo names things, they never really just go for a 2, unless it's a 3D, which is a whole other beast, actually, yeah, what do you guys think they would call the next Switch? Would they even call it Switch? Would they call it something else?
Switch 2?
I think the Switch 2 would be the best name, just because it's time they stop confusing consumers. Like, really, stop. Just
1,
stop.
2.
They should go for the PlayStation route, which is Switch 2.
Exactly. PlayStation is perfect because they just 1, 2, 3,
It's
4,
very
5.
simple. People understand what it means when they say PS5. Exactly. That's a good point.
I remember I was explaining to this one lady the difference between the new Nintendo 3DS and the 2DS. And she's like, which one should I get for my kid? And I was like, the 2DS. And she was like, but is that one new? And I was like, yeah. Why doesn't it say new? I was like, because
it's Japanese.
Nintendo used to. Please use the number 2 exists, Nintendo. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least call it like Super Switch. Like, I thought that was a cool naming, right?
No.
Obviously.
Confusion Alpha Wazoo.
Okay, fine.
Then people are going to like a Switch Pro or something.
Which also doesn't necessarily imply a new generation, right? So, yeah, Switch 2 might be the safest way to go. Maybe Nintendo will do that. I guess we won't really know until Nintendo announces that 4 years from now.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so let's move forward. All right, so Zeraora was revealed yesterday, or Monday for Japan. Timing here, but Zeraora was revealed yesterday. That is a Pokemon, the final Pokemon supposedly for the Pokédex for Generation 7, the game, the generation encompassing Pokemon Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon. So, I think the Pokemon's pretty cool. It's a cool legendary Pokemon, but it is just one Pokemon. That's not that big of a deal. Not really worth its own topic, at least for this podcast. But the implication is that the generation is now officially over, with Zeraora being revealed and soon to be released. So then that opens up the doors for conversation about Pokemon Switch from Pokemon Company and Nintendo. What do you guys think of this? Do you guys think this is likely? Do you think we'll be seeing a Pokemon Direct like we usually do at least when you look at the last few years before E3? What do you guys think is going on? Amanda, you haven't been on this show before when we've talked about Pokemon, so how about you give us your thoughts?
I think they're gonna say something about a Pokemon game eventually. I don't think the ending of the generation, I think, is kind of soon. I don't know, because maybe I'm playing Poke Ultra Moon, so it's probably like my timeline's kind of, but possible.
Okay. And just for the record, guys, the last Pokemon Direct, because I saw Sabbath just ask this question, so we have perspective for this topic, was June, like a week before E3. Like right before E3, there was last Pokemon Direct, and that Pokemon Direct was taken off the Nintendo Direct website, which usually implies that there's another Direct of that type coming within a few months. Yeah.
I mean, I said this last week, I think. It's odd because, like, just last week we were talking about this, and I was like, I think it's April. I think they're going to announce something this month or next month. And you were like, oh, well, we got to wait for, this Pokemon thing. And I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but sure. And now the thing's happened. And I'm like, well, I think this kind of verifies a tiny bit my opinion that they're going to show something either this month or next month. That's just what I think.
So,
feels right.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. If this means the end of a generation, that might mean the beginning of a new generation by the end of this year, and that would only be a 2-year gap. When you look at the past, usually it's like a 3-year window for a Pokemon generation, but this would only be 2 years if I remember correctly, because Sun and Moon came out in 2016.
Oh, so, yeah, I was saying, like, it kind of went quick this generation.
Yeah.
So.
Right, 2019 holiday would be more along the pattern of a new generation. But that doesn't mean a Pokemon game can't come out. It could, and it also doesn't mean that it won't be a new generation, right? I'm just simply bringing up the point that this would be a quicker generation than usual. So, do you guys think that means that there might not be a new Pokemon generation? And that doesn't mean it won't be a new Pokemon game. It could just be like maybe a Pokemon game that's set in a different region, like maybe Kanto, like they go back to Kanto, or maybe they have the Pearl and Diamond remakes or something like that. So, what do you guys think?
I didn't even think this generation was like a full generation, because it had a lot of Pokemon that were old, which I like, which they made a new version of, which is better than all these weird looking Pokemon. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope they do something like that, like they remake old Pokemon into, depending where they are, into different things.
I mean, personally, I would love it if they were to go back to Kanto, right? And but not like retell the Red and Blue story, like a whole new story, like maybe set like 10 years in the future that encompasses the Kanto Pokemon, but pretty much all Pokemon for all different generations, all 7 generations worth of Pokemon are in the Kanto region. You add more towns, make it a bigger world, obviously with, bigger, like this is my ideal like vision, right? This is not what I know is going to happen or I'm predicting to happen, but it might happen. Just like a completely redone Kanto. Maybe you encompass Johto and the Sevi Islands, or maybe a new Battle Frontier, add more side quests, new towns, a whole new story, right? Like that could be, a new Pokemon game that isn't necessarily a new generation, but it would still feel new because it would have all this new stuff. And maybe you add a few extra new forms. Maybe there'll be a few new Mega Evolutions or a few new Ultra Beasts, kind of like what they did with Ultra Sun and Moon.
They have a lot to work with.
Yeah. Another thing, actually, though, Amanda, you sort of like suggested it, though, is that Sun and Moon didn't really feel like that big of a generation, right? Like, what if, like, they never intended for Sun and Moon to be, like, a whole new generation? Like, to me, it almost feels like X and Y on Sun and Moon are more of, like, bigger, or, like, 2 halves to a whole generation. Like, they each kind of felt like incremental generational jumps. So, what if, like, that was the plan the whole time, and that they're ready for a full generational jump this time. That may be a possibility.
Didn't X and Y not even get a third version? Like, they didn't get Z. Like,
They
Z
got-
doesn't exist.
There was a yes, people were predicting Z forever. But what we got instead was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which was remakes for Generation 3.
So, if anything, that generation, like, lasts, like, Jack Diddley. Just, like, you didn't even get the third one. You didn't even, there's no Z. It's just X and Y.
I mean, this all would, like, it would fall, you know, since there's like, I mean, I wouldn't have a clue, but like if there's like some disturbance in the Pokemon Force, like the generational jump is like messing up or whatever, that would fall in line with like reboot rumors and whatnot. I think that would be interesting if that was the case.
Maybe they should have like everybody clash. Like all the legendaries go. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like they've low-key been like holding back on like really changing up Pokemon. Like, I wonder if they've been making this game like before Pokemon Sun and Moon even came out. Like, because they didn't even add as many Pokemon as they usually add or anything like that, didn't they? Like, I wonder if, since this is such a big jump in like graphics and like just what you can achieve in gameplay and as well, like maybe this is going to be a whole new Pokemon. They've been kind of, you know, keep holding back on Pokemon for it till now.
So, to your point, Brandon, since X and Y, the Pokemon models themselves have been kind of like already ready for like an HD world. They just need to be used in HD, right? Like if you look at the Citra yeah, that's the Spanish accent. But like the like if you look at those the emulation, like the Pokemon models themselves look great in like if you even blow up to 4K, the Pokemon models look completely smooth. They're very sharp. They look clean. So it almost seems like they've been thinking ahead, and they've already designed the Pokemon models to be running in a more modern engine. It's really just the world that needs to be upgraded, because the Pokemon models themselves, if you just maybe add some texture and lighting, like they would look great, you know, in a modern sort of style. You know what I mean?
They should try them out in Pokken Tournament. I don't know. The Pokemon there looks great.
Yeah. Pokken, I think Pokken looks amazing. You know, just kind of like blurry, but like the actual like the style of it looks good. You know, but they only have like 20 I don't remember the exact numbers. Like 20 Pokemon there, right? Then there's
Pokken Tournament is a weird situation with its graphics because they like barely upgraded it from the Wii U, and that could have looked a lot better. I don't know why they like didn't even like bump the resolution that much.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're thinking with that, but as far as the models, they look super good.
Yeah. So, you know, I just think it's a little weird because there's the possibility that they've been thinking ahead this whole time. Like, if you look at the Pokemon models, there's some reasoning to believe that they were sort of preparing for shorter generations to have Pokemon Switch. Or maybe they weren't thinking about doing Pokemon Switch at all, and, like, they're not really prepared for a whole new generation. So there's one side where the Game Freak and Pokemon Company have been getting ready for the Switch for a few years. Or there's the other side that they weren't really sure they were going to be doing anything on Switch until not too long ago, so they don't really have a big upgrade for the game. It could go either way, I think. What do you guys think?
I'd say they knew about it for a few years.
Yeah,
Right.
they had to know something.
Yeah,
They may have known.
Like, if that explains the laziness and like the coast buy-ness of like these recent Pokemon, that would make perfect sense, I'd say.
Yeah. The only thing is that some people, I think most people agree that they've known about the Switch for a few years, but were they down on putting Pokemon only on the Switch, right? Because Pokemon, like Game Freak, like the main Pokemon games have never been on a home console. So the portability of the handhelds is what really fit the vision for Pokemon, because you go around and it's more about like meeting people in real life and trading and communicating. So home consoles don't fit that vision. Also, on a home console, you usually need to have a higher budget because better graphics are expected. So with the Switch, like, it does have the ability to be portable, which still sort of gears towards like that vision for Pokemon about being able to communicate with people all around. But also, it is also a home console, so it comes with the expectation of a better graphics, a higher budget. So, you know, the argument can be made that maybe Game Freak and Pokemon Company weren't 100% sure they wanted to focus on the Switch a few years ago.
Well, you know, they thought the Switch would flop at first, so I'd agree.
Right.
Like the main guy came out and he was like, "Well, I thought it would fail, but it succeeded."
So does that mean they didn't start Pokemon development until not too long ago? You know, and if
Probably.
that's the case, then how much of an expectation can we have for Pokemon?
I'd say Nintendo has them on a leash. If Nintendo wanted Pokemon on Switch, they got to put it on there. I don't.
Right, like maybe
I think that's like end of story right there.
You were gonna say something, Brandon?
Yeah, in my opinion, Pokemon Company has been talking. They talked about this before, where like even with Sun and Moon, they wanted to do a lot more with that game, but the 3DS just held them back. Like they didn't want to. They wanted to release it on more powerful hardware, and they wanted Nintendo to make a more powerful handheld. And I'm sure Nintendo told them, "Hey, we're not making a successor to the 3DS. We're making this home console handheld hybrid thing. So either you're going to make more games that you're disappointed with the lack of, you know, evolution in the series and different things like that on the 3DS, or you're going to come and, you know, use the advantages of the Switch. Like, that's your options." So I think just for that alone, I mean, like, they didn't have an option of like, oh, we could just put it on the 3DS too, or the 4DS, or, you know, whatever. Like, they had to either continue on the 3DS, which they didn't even want to do for Sun and Moon, or put it on the Switch. So I think just that way they'd be inclined to be on board.
Plus, weren't they already no, never mind, that's irrelevant. I was gonna ask about that whole Eurogamer thing with Pokemon Stars on the Switch and if they were already testing with it.
Right. Well, the story is though is that Pokemon Stars was more of a game engine to test out the Switch, right? So I mean, there is information out there suggesting that they've been working on this project for a while, right? So we can be the optimist and just hope that they've been working on Pokemon Switch for a while. And like I said earlier, the advancedness of the Pokemon models, like they can be upscaled to 4K and still look amazing. Like maybe they've been thinking ahead for a long time, right? And maybe when, like you said, Will, that even though Pokemon Company wasn't 100% confident that the Switch would be successful, that doesn't mean that they weren't getting ready for the Switch. So that's a good point. But, guys who are watching in the chat, how about you guys let me know what you guys think of this situation here? Do you guys think that Pokemon Company and Game Freak were aware of this? They were aware of the Switch, but were they ready to start development for a serious, ground up new Pokemon game for Switch? Or were they sort of like, waiting until they had no choice? But, another sort of like example that comes up to me though is that I remember for Generation 5 when it was black and white, that was kind of an upgrade. Like they started using like semi 3D environments but still had sprites with like animation, and that was an upgrade from Generation 4, but it was still made for the Nintendo DS. It wasn't for the 3DS. The 3DS had already come out though, so like you could play, it was backwards compatible, so you could play the new Pokemon games on the 3DS, but they were made for the DS. So, it was kind of one of those situations where, like, a lot of people, myself included, just wanted them to make a new 3DS Pokemon game, but they waited a little bit to bring it over. Now, they could have had, there was a conversation about Pokemon Stars being real and that being the Pokemon game, and it could have come out last year, right? So maybe that is like them waiting, and now 2018 is when we get that real Pokemon game.
Yeah, so I feel like if they were going to release, like another just barely upgraded, just like mostly 3DS port, I feel like they would have done that last year instead of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. So, just looking at the chat here, Zach is back. He's saying he misses pixelated Pokemon. I do too. They were, they had a bit of style to them. They were really cool. But I also do like the cel-shaded Pokemon as well. They're also awesome. And Sabbath64 was saying that he thinks they were working on this new Pokemon title during the development for Sun and Moon, which is interesting to me because, like, Sun and Moon, like, when they shifted over to Sun and Moon, it had, like, more of a 3D, perspective. You could explore more of the world. They sort of did away with that grid-like structure. So maybe Sabbath is right here, and when they started developing Sun and Moon, they already knew they were going to be putting a game on Switch, which is why they sort of shifted into a more of a 3D sort of style.
Mm-hmm.
I see that.
I'd agree, because they specifically mention they had a team of people with like younger people and like the OG Pokemon team, and like one team tackles the sort of lazy Pokemon games while the other right now is working on Pokemon Switch.
They do have two separate teams, so yeah. I mean,
Right.
you know, they have the ability to be working on different games at once. You know, a lot of big teams do. So you know that definitely boosts my confidence a little bit. There's a question that No Filter brought up that I'm not sure what he's referring to, so I'm gonna read it out loud. He said, "How? That would mean that's only 1 year since the previous gen. What? I'm not sure what the question is referring to. So if you want to specify, let me know, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my ability."
I was going to say that, Zach. They should do it. I know you guys would probably get tired of me saying that, but I would like everything in like Octopath style.
Dude, that would be really cool style. It pissed me off because they could totally make like a 3D Pokemon that's like, really epic, but like the Octopath Traveler engine is such an amazing engine for like 2D games.
Yeah, I think it's all like in the lighting. Like that team is really
Yeah.
good at using the Unreal Engine for lighting. So if like Game Freak could do that, oh dear God.
I think that could be good. I don't know. I think I'd prefer like a full 3D modeled Pokemon game. Like I think it works really well for Octopath Travel, and it could work better for like different games. Like Advance Wars would be really cool in that style. But I don't know if I want like Pokemon, just because I know that you could have like a whole open world Pokemon that looks like, kind of like it's the Pokemon fighting game, Pokemon Tournament, like that, but like a whole world of that. So, like, I think that works. The Octopath Traveler engine works better for other games, in my opinion.
He specifically mentioned pixelated Pokemon. I would like
Yeah.
Octopath and a pixelated Pokemon.
If you like the pixelated, yeah.
I would prefer, for the Pokemon Switch, I would prefer it to be 3D. And like, what was that game on the Wii? It looked so good.
Pokemon Battle Revolution.
Yeah, that might be it.
Maybe for a remake of an older
epic,
generation Pokemon, they could use the Octopath engine.
Ooh, wow. Yeah. Like, I kind of like that idea of, like, remakes using the Octopath engine. But, they're not going to use the Octopath engine. Pokemon's going to do their own thing.
Obviously. Square owns the rights to that, so.
Molly suggested that maybe they could sort of, use a 2D style for, like, a minigame sort of thing. That's another possibility, because a lot of people do love that 2D style. So, if they could find a way to, like, sort of appeal to that, it would be really cool. But I don't know, because obviously Pokemon's already moved past that already. So I don't see them going back, but maybe they could come up with some sort of spin-off series or something to appeal to that. I'm not sure what they could do, though, without taking away from their main series. I still want to know what No Filter was referring to. Did you guys, like, understand what he meant there? Because, like, we were saying different things, so I'm not, in terms of context.
I'm wondering if he means, like, Pokemon Switch would only be a year after Sun and Moon generation, I guess.
I'm not sure. I mean, like, I brought up that if this is a new generation, it would be 2 years instead of 3 years, which it usually is for Pokemon. So it's gonna be fast. What did you say, Will?
I said there was a disturbance in the Pokemon Force.
Oh,
pretty much.
Yeah. So I don't know, we'll see, but guys, you can let me know what you guys think in the chat and the comments as well. But I think it's time to move forward. If we come back to this in a little bit, if you guys have any points to bring up. But is there anything you guys want to say, ask for Pokemon before we move on to the Animal Crossing topic?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. So, Animal Crossing. Brandon, you said you wanted to take the lead on this one. You made a video on it and all, so.
Yeah, I just made a video on why I think I'm still stuck on the Pokemon train apparently. Why I think Animal Crossing will come to the Nintendo Switch, and recently there has been a website that Nintendo's working on, their Animal Crossing website, that has a ton of placeholder announcement stuff. If you look at their page, like they have a video page, and it's just literally nothing but these like Amiibo Festival pictures that's just slapped on, and then it says video title text goes here. Literally says video title text goes here. Like under their news, it's just like news goes here, and just like you don't say. So obviously they're revamping their website for new videos, new news topics, and different things like that. So something Animal Crossing related is going to be announced, and I think it just makes sense. Along with, you know, in the video I mentioned that you know they made the mobile game. Typically, pretty much every time they made a mobile game, they made a brand new mainline game just a couple months later. So since they made Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, it would make sense that a brand new Nintendo Switch game would come out, and this just kind of supports that more. And I think this website will get you know, fully launched, and all these videos will be like, you know, for the different Switch things, and the news will be for the different Switch news and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, and I have no idea why this wasn't a topic, but the GameStop CEO himself recently just confirmed that there are multiple Switch titles coming in 2018 that aren't announced.
It's been a good topic.
So Animal Crossing fits that bill perfectly because Brandon just said, they would never ever make a mobile game in vain. Like a Animal Crossing game is like inevitable, and I think that that's definitely one of those unannounced games that are coming this year.
All right. For clarification, I consciously did not put that as a separate topic. I just planned on bringing it up because, like, it's one of those things, like, of course there's unannounced titles, but the point being, right, the reason why it's exciting is because the GameStop CEO sees a very promising 2018 because of a lot of unannounced titles, like potentially Animal Crossing. You know, I just kind of, like, Will, you brought it up at the perfect time. Like, I wanted to bring it up for this topic, but, you know, yeah. So the GameStop CEO is very excited for the Switch. He thinks it's going to have a promising, you know, in terms of sales. Like, it seems very promising in 2018 because of what he knows. He sees things that we don't. And Animal Crossing is like one of Nintendo's largest properties. Like, I remember we've had this conversation before where Nintendo has high expectations for sales in 2018. And we were like, what games would do that? Pokemon and Smash would do that. The other franchise that would do that would be Animal Crossing. So what if we get Smash Brothers, Pokemon, and Animal Crossing all in the same year? That
rip my wallet.
Right.
Dude, I know. Wallet is dead. Here, hold on.
That would be awesome.
Nintendo, you just take this real quick. Just you can have it. I don't need it.
I mean, we can assume all day, but I think the draw of that topic is that he confirmed, like, we can assume as fans, but he confirmed that there are multiple unannounced games coming.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean first-party games, though. It could be stuff like Grand Theft Auto or Fortnite.
Yeah.
Which would also be pretty big.
Those games wouldn't boost Switch sales like a Nintendo IP would. But as I was trying to say, I think they've been gearing up. It's like if they were going to Animal Crossing is that unannounced game. It's that go-to game. It's like which game is painfully obvious that Nintendo wants on this thing would work.
Right.
Perfect Animal Crossing. It just makes so much sense. I
feel like the point is to be made, though, that I think it's likely that we could be seeing Animal Crossing, Smash Bros., and Pokemon by the end of the fiscal year, which would be, you know, by March 2019. So one of these games could be like an early 2019. Lord Smash is coming for 2018, right? But Pokemon and Animal Crossing, one of those games could come out early 2019 and still boost sales enough to satisfy investors to hit those, you know, predictions or estimates that Nintendo had, right? So I just think it's worth noting that Animal Crossing, while it could be getting hyped up and it may see an announcement and like a bit of a lot of gameplay showing off at E3, it doesn't mean it's a late 2018 title. It could still be like an early 2019 title, which I would be fine with, but I would also love to have it as a December game. Like, for me, Animal Crossing is the perfect December game. You know, it hits that, for me, it has like that very Christmassy feel. So I would love that, but, you know, like I said, I just feel like it's worth noting that it could still be an early 2019 title and fit, you know, satisfy the investors.
I'd argue that it's an even more perfect January game.
Maybe so.
Why is that?
Because in Animal Crossing, you progressively see your days change why not start from the top?
That'd be cool if
That
like it came out January
literally makes-
1st.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would be cool. But I think January 1st would piss people off too. Like it's like, oh, come on, you could have like, you know what I mean? Like it's January 1st is 8 days after Christmas. So, like I feel
Yeah.
like January would work, but I feel like January 1st would be kind of like a slap in the face to people who celebrate Christmas.
It could be very, very cool, but I just think for business perspective, it wouldn't really work as well as like before Christmas. But yeah, I get your point, Will. That would be really, really cool. But then
Yeah,
again,
I
you'd have
wasn't
to
really-
buy it day one for that kind of magical feeling.
Yeah. I wasn't really considering the biz from a business standpoint.
Mhm.
You can honestly you can release Animal Crossing anytime. I'd argue.
I mean, the release
Um,
dates, if you go back and look at them, like the original came out in April, but New Leaf came out in November. So there's not really a very good metric of
Right.
when Animal Crossing should come out.
Animal Crossing is like that. When you support it over time, it just grabs anyone. Like it just does. New Leaf got me, and
New Leaf was-
I never even like I thought Animal Crossing was the weirdest franchise on the planet, and then New Leaf got me. So
Yeah.
honestly,
You look at Animal
Crossing
Crossing. Oh,
can be-
sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it can be put anywhere, but yeah.
Right. I mean, you look at Animal Crossing, you're like, what kind of drugs were these people on when they came up with this idea? And then you play it, and you're like, oh man, this is amazing.
I want to look at some of the Animal Crossing dates, but like, yeah, I think a lot of them have actually been holiday titles. Like
New
like
Leaf was November 8th. The original was April.
I think
Look at
Wild
the other
Ward for the
ones.
DS, Wild World, not Word,
World
was
was
December,
November.
November.
Wild World was November.
City
What's the
Folk?
name of the other one? City Folk. Let's see. City Folk was November. Okay, so every one of them is coming out in November except the original. So
Right,
I was
and
wrong.
the original sort of told them this is the kind of franchise you have. Now you should make it a holiday title, So
Also, I'd like to point out they have 2 games that are for 10 million sales, which is that just sells. That's
and which
just
are
really good.
those? The Wii and the 3DS versions?
I think the DS and 3DS versions.
Okay,
The Wii one actually only sold less than 5 million for some reason.
it's just weird. I think maybe part of it is the portability aspect of it. It's one of those games that's better for portable because it's something that you don't have to play like 5 minutes a day, right? And when you have it on the go with you can
Right.
sort of that makes sense actually.
Perfect for the Switch, and then you can like just plug it in the dock, play multiplayer.
Mhm.
It's good stuff.
Mhm.
Man, there's quite a few games that we know that are in the works for Nintendo that are really exciting. We have Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime 4, Smash Brothers, Pikmin 4 sort of, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, like Yoshi, Fire Emblem, and I mean obviously not all those games are coming out this holiday season, but like they have enough to give us a gangbusters holiday 2018 and still have plenty left over for 2019. That doesn't consider like other possibilities like maybe a Luigi's Mansion game from the guys who made Luigi's Mansion 2. I don't know what they're working on. We don't know what
Mario.
right?
A good Paper
Let's
Mario
hope.
game? Yes, please.
We still don't know what Retro Studios is doing. That's another thing, right? Like
Right.
Mhm.
the Mario team I'm sure is working on something else already, as is the Zelda team, and like
2D Zelda.
Remakes of everything.
Makes of all.
right, and that's another thing though. Since the 3DS is like all of the teams are moving onto the Switch, normally they have enough development going on that they can have handheld Zelda games and console Zelda games coming out. So we could be seeing sort of like a 2D style Zelda game come out, and maybe like a Product Octopath sort of graphical style, or maybe like a HD like a Link Between Worlds. So it's just like the amount of Nintendo published games that are in the works right now just for the Switch, like we don't even know about all of them, right? And it's already pretty impressive. Exactly. It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, it's a good time to be a Nintendo fan.
Absolutely.
100%.
So just before we get to the chat here, guys, if you have any questions you want us to like sort of give our thoughts on, start putting them in now. But if you have to put a time, like a month, like month and year, when do you think we'll be seeing Animal Crossing? Who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
All right.
Late Late 2018.
And do you think that means like November, October,
Yeah,
December?
like the holidays probably.
Mhm.
I mean, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So.
Opinion difference from mine. How dare you?
I'd say late 2018. I did
Okay.
say January would be the perfect month for it, but that's just in a perfect world. Based on what they've been doing though, it would be a 2018 title, 100%.
Yeah. Based on the fact that every other game but the original has come out in November, it's going to be November 2018 or November 2019.
Okay.
I think it will come out this year just because it's got to come out. I mean, the mobile game just if you follow that line of thinking, and it's been so long since New Leaf. New Leaf came out like a million years ago, so there's plenty of time to have made a new one by now.
I'd say Pokemon be in November, but yeah.
Right, that's the thing. Like, I don't think you could have Animal Crossing and Pokemon in November.
You don't think?
No.
Mm-mm.
I think you could.
I think maybe Animal Crossing could be October. Or Pokemon October, Animal Crossing November. I think.
I'd say Animal Crossing December. I don't know.
Maybe.
I like Animal Crossing as December, but maybe they want to get it out before Black Friday, right?
I just don't know how much that, like, they're two very different games. So I don't know how much crossover there is.
I also feel like Animal Crossing could still be an early 2019 title, but before the end of the fiscal year, right? Like, No Filter thinks March 2019, which I don't think is a bad prediction, right? I mean, it's hard to call anything a bad prediction, right? Like, I think if you predict it before the end of the fiscal year, like, that fits with Nintendo's plan to appeal investors, which is what they definitely want to do. They definitely want to prove to them that they're going to hit their estimates. So, but I do think if Animal Crossing were to come at March, it would definitely minimize the impact. You know, by the end of the fiscal year, like they would want to come out maybe a little bit earlier. So, you know, I wouldn't predict March simply for that reason. So. It's hard to say. I
really think it's coming this year, though.
I think it's between February. It's either February 2019 or October 2018. Those are my two sort of picks.
I'd put Bayo February, Metroid March of 2019.
Oh,
I can see
you
Nintendo
think
skipping.
Metroid? Interesting.
I can see Nintendo skipping January entirely. Honestly.
Right? Yeah,
They have no quarrels skipping that month.
Like, so, I think it's a good cooldown month, honestly, especially if they have a really strong holiday season. So, like, with this new Animal Crossing news, I do kind of want to shift around my predictions because I do think Metroid has a decent chance of coming out this year, maybe. And if that were to happen, I could see it being maybe more of a December title, right? If it were to come this year, and then Animal Crossing hitting that October sort of area. And a Smash Bros. Would be like the September title, of course, but there's also Fire Emblem, and that's also supposedly confirmed for this year. So, either Metroid or Fire Animal Crossing, I don't see one. I feel like one of those games won't make it. Another possibility is that Pokemon's just not coming this year. You know, possible.
And there are more unannounced games.
Right.
So there's no reason to think that Animal Crossing would be at the bottom of that priority list. Clearly, it's at the top. So I'd say it definitely is releasing in 2018.
Yeah.
Like as far as unannounced titles go, if someone randomly brought up Animal Crossing, you wouldn't look at them sideways. You'd say, yeah, that's because the mobile game stuff.
Right. So, but what other, like, I don't know, unannounced projects could there be? You know, like, I think the Retro Studios project is obviously one of them. I don't know what this. I mean, we talk about this like every other podcast. Though, what could Retro Studios be working on? I think a Mario Party game has not been announced yet, and a Mario Party game should come eventually. You know, there have been those trademarks for that Wario Land game. That's another possibility. But I feel like that would be like an eShop game. You know, like not really like something that would really move the dial that much in terms of sales. What do you think, Amanda? Do you think there's any like particular game that hasn't been announced yet, not counting Animal Crossing, that may come or that you would like to see?
I mostly want like remasters. I just want everything on the Switch, like my Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, everybody on the Switch. But Skyward Sword remake would be amazing.
Yes.
So my
That
You know
opinion,
my language. It's just everything Zelda.
I have a few problems with Skyward Sword HD though. I feel like the beginning's really slow. I think it would need some like reworkings, right? Like I think
Oh, well, I can nitpick every Zelda game, but they're all masterpieces.
Yeah, I mean, so was Twilight Princess, and they did actually fix some of the slowness of the beginning scene, so they could definitely do that for
yeah,
Skyward Sword.
they could do something similar for that as well, exactly. And I mean, like my dream for Skyward Sword HD, right, is a little over the top, but what I would want them to do is obviously HD visuals. It's cell shaded. I think would work really well. It could be something like Wind Waker HD. But also, obviously, the Joy-Cons would simulate the Skyward Sword motion controls pretty well,
Yes.
if not better, right?
HD Rumble would feel amazing.
Add
Mhm.
HD Rumble,
Mhm.
adding HD Rumble. Another thing they could do is also offer alternative controls, so dual analog controls for those who
I
like
think
it.
they would, yeah.
Yeah.
Just use the right stick to control your sword or something like that.
Maybe add a few more side quests. That'd be really cool. Fill it out the world a little bit more.
Yeah.
And another thing that I would like, which is crazy, and I don't think they'll do, would be like actually not have the world segmented. Like actually, maybe you could actually like literally fly down instead of it just being a loading screen. You know, and maybe even have paths that sort of like like there's provinces, right? Like what if you could actually unlock like an actual walking pathway through it? I just personally want that, but I understand that the way the game is created, that's just like a lot to ask
That
for.
would break the entire game just because you have to get to certain areas at certain times. It's a very linear game, so
Yeah.
in that aspect, it would just completely destroy the entire.
It would be.
game.
I want to destroy Skyward Sword.
No.
I just hope the extra content isn't another just one of those basic like fight the enemy dungeons, like Twilight Princess. It's like stop adding
Yeah.
those in. We don't need them.
We have a Skyward Sword amiibo, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
I had to I paid so much for that amiibo. Kind of ashamed. I paid like $60.
Oh my gosh.
I just had to have it.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah,
yeah.
I can see Golden Sun coming back.
Oh man,
Oh,
that'd be
yeah.
cool. So yeah, let's move on to the chat, guys. Do you have any sort of final things you want us to bring up and talk about? Get to the chat. This is the final stretch for the podcast, the last 5 minutes or so. So just let me kind of refer to the chat, see what sort of things you brought up the last few minutes. And guys, Amanda, Brandon, Wolf, if there's anything you want to bring up, do it.
Do it.
Just do it. Do it. Sabbath64 saying Luigi's Mansion 3 could be announced. I think Luigi's Mansion 3 actually, there's some merit to saying that might be announced. I don't know if it'll be announced this year, but I feel like it's in the works.
There was that big rumor back when it was still the NX that they were making a new Luigi's Mansion. Like Eurogamer and everything covered it. So
what if that was just this remake they were seeing for 3DS?
No, because they specifically talked about how it was going to be graphically impressive compared to the other games and stuff like that. So
I think Luigi's Mansion is very impressive.
Yeah, back in 2005, sure.
Actually,
2003, 2002,
2001. It was a
2001.
launch title for the GameCube.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was. You're right.
Yeah.
Back in way back.
Back before a lot of people in this chat were even alive.
Back when I was only 2.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
2, almost 3.
Another new IP. Yeah, I can see that.
Bringing back the Ice Climbers would be
IP.
awesome, Zach. That would be great.
Nintendo said they were gonna do all this off the wall kind of new IPs and different crazy stuff. We didn't see any of that, so we're seeing some of that at E3, I think.
No Filter suggesting another new IP akin to ARMS and Splatoon. I think more new IPs are definitely in the works. I would like to see something that has a lot of personality like those games for sure. What sort of genre could they mix up? What could they do? They could do a horror, right? That's one option. They could do.
I think there's some people are saying they're gonna do adult games.
Adult games like a dating sim,
Above M or
those I don't even want to say it. Like, yeah.
Like the A, like with an A rating.
The games that that make extensive use of HD Rumble.
Yes.
No, I don't think Nintendo's gonna make an A-rated game. They're like barely making M-rated games.
And Japan, they might.
Novel, like A-rated. I don't know.
Late 2019.
I think Bayonetta 3 will definitely see by 2019.
Yeah, I don't think it's like I don't think any games we've seen are like 2020
games. Well, I think Nintendo is on this mindset where if they announce something, they know that its development is close enough to the end that we won't have to wait more than 2 years.
I don't think we've seen any 2020 games. Like no way.
I don't think so either. But of course, things could be delayed. Sometimes games get delayed though, so there is that possibility, right? But I think, if assuming no major delays, I think Bayonetta 3 is a 2019 title at the latest. I could see it being holiday 2019 though, like maybe October or something. But it also could be further along, like Will has suggested.
No, I could see it being this year, this October actually.
I could.
Right, that's what I was saying. I'm saying
as far
that
as
you could be right, but I say latest or holiday 2019, earliest to what you're saying.
I was responding to No Filter. I said I could see it being October this year. But yeah, No Filter. I could see it being October this year, but no, I don't know. Like if you look at the actual trailer, you can tell like they have a villain that like they clearly have a villain and the story. I think that it's really far along. I'm not saying like you should look at every trailer for like 100% confirmation, because I know a lot of people look at the Metroid logo and say, "Oh yeah, that's coming in like 2050." That doesn't make sense. But if you look at the Bayonetta trailer, clearly they have a lot of stuff planned out.
They're at least teasing a story. Like they have a framework for the story, at least I think.
Yeah.
Right. And the actual creator on Twitter actually always talks about it. He's saying he's had the framework for the game for a long time. So I think it's pretty far along.
Yeah, I think it could definitely come out in 2018. I don't know if I expect it or not, but I mean, they did just release the 1 and 2, so it'd be weird if they released 1 and 2 and then just like, oh yeah, gonna wait 2 years till the third one.
No, yeah. I mean, if I think the port definitely helps to build up some awareness for the game, but I think they don't need it to be a 2018 sort of thing, but you know, we'll see. We can debate about years forever. We do this all the time, so you know.
Suncrab22 says Wolf Link and Smash Bros, and I brought this up.
I would love that.
Funny story. Back when Brawl came out, since you know we didn't actually know about every single character that came out, there was a rumor that went around that you could unlock Wolf Link in Smash Bros. Brawl. And I tried. I was a big fan of Twilight Princess at the time. I'm not as big a fan anymore because I kind of see the flaws. I was kind of like, you know, Nintendo fanboy, Zelda fanboy, blinded to a lot of the flaws, but I can see them more now. But I was super big on Twilight Princess at the time, and I was like trying to do like so many things, unlock Wolf Link, and of course he's not in the game. But he could be in the next Smash Brothers, maybe. I don't see it though, but it's a possibility. I just don't think he's that relevant anymore.
I would like to see the champions. I think like the champions would be really cool from Breath of the Wild. Like at least one or two of them I could see being like characters, and maybe the other two are just like power-ups for Link.
Honestly, you know? I think they'll be they'll be in Breath of the Wild Link's Final Smash. I think that's the extent of their representation, unfortunately.
I think we need some Zelda representation though. It's kind of just Zelda, Ganondorf, and well, never mind. We got 2 Links.
And well, Hyrule Warriors really fleshed out Impa, you know, so Impa could be a character possibility from the Zelda universe.
Yeah,
I feel like Impa's gonna be getting a good amount of representation in games lately. Like she's been a big role in the last 2 games. So
right, but she was an old lady in Breath of the Wild, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but, you know, she's been an old lady a few times. So, yeah.
That would be funny.
It could be an ass-kicking old lady.
The what?
Yeah, because she's like an Amazon when she's, like, actually young, but, like, when she's old, she's all short and stuff. I think that's hilarious.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, right? It's weird how that works. So, Marty's saying that he doesn't want a player 2 amiibo, any more of them, because they just ruin his wallet. Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to, like, just, you know, steal people's money, you know, just offering, like, you know, another type of amiibo for, like, each character.
I want a Zelda line of amiibo where we get, like, more Zelda enemies. I know we have, like, the Bokoblin, but I want, like...
We also have the Guardian.
Yeah, the Guardian and the Bokoblin, but I want more. Like,
Imagine a Hinox amiibo or a Lionel amiibo.
Yeah.
And you scan them...
I want the Zelda amiibo, but in her, like, white dress instead of the, like...
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Her ceremonial gown or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be really cool, actually. Like, what if, like, Zelda gets the Breath of the Wild remake too? So, like, her different costumes, like, one of them is, like, her, you know, champion's, like, attire, but one of them is, like, the white dress attire, you know? And that I would really like to see that. Especially, like, if her final smash is, like, what she does to Ganon at the end of Breath of the Wild. And it's just, like, light destruction. Everyone dies. Like,
Instant death.
Spoilers, Zelda's the most powerful Nintendo character ever. Excluding Kirby. Because Kirby can suck up universes.
I'd say Pit is the strongest Nintendo character.
It's pretty strong.
Is that a joke, or are you being serious?
Oh, no, I'm 100% serious.
What?
But isn't Palutena stronger than Pit?
Nah.
Palutena, I think that's her name.
Yeah.
I don't even... Maybe we could get a new Kid Icarus game.
I would love a new Kid Icarus game.
He beat Palutena in the game.
Oh, when she was made evil?
Yeah.
She was possessed by the Chaos King.
Link's also a bit more powerful than Zelda, because in Twilight Princess... This is not a spoiler. The game came out a million years ago. In the final boss, you fight her as a public form.
She's one of the stages, yeah. But you could make the argument, though, that when something is using the body, they don't know how to use it to its max effectiveness. You know,
yeah, it wasn't using her, like, magic.
Right. So maybe...
she does.
No, it was.
Yeah, but not to, like, you know...
Well, so a good example, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, when Captain Ginyu steals Goku's body, he can't even use it to, like, 10% of its true power, right? Because even though he can use it and he's stronger than most people when he's using Goku's body, he still doesn't know how to take full advantage of it. And actually, to use a more recent example of Dragon Ball Super, Goku Black, like, he's learning. Like, he's not as good with Goku's body at first, but he gets better and better and better with it as he learns the ins and outs of the body. So the argument I'm making is that when we have these dark energies
that doesn't
stealing...
apply to everything.
No, but I'm simply making the argument. They could say that the evil energies that consume both Zelda and Palutena in their respective games, you could say that, hey, maybe they don't actually know how to use the bodies as fully to their max power.
From what I understand in Twilight Princess, Zelda was specifically called a puppet, so of course she can't be used to her full potential. I think she would waste Link, actually, if she was at her full potential. Secondly, the Chaos King actually had mental influence over Palutena, so it isn't really him controlling her. She genuinely turned evil. It was still her. She was evil. Thirdly, I would like to give an even more recent example because I read Batman number 41 recently.
Okay.
Poison Ivy controlled every single person on the planet for an hour. And there were these flashes, and Batman was punching them, and people in the comments were salty, but the comic specifically says that they were just puppets, and she can't use them to their full potential.
Okay.
Yes, I understand the argument, but I still think the Chaos King, that's a different situation.
So I feel like I would have to replay Kid Icarus, but I see what you're saying there. You could be right. I mean, after all, Kid Icarus does fight Hades. You know, he fights Hades.
Yeah. That's what I mentioned, because at the end of the game he sort of breaks the fourth wall, and he was like, well, I guess Pit beat me, so he's the most powerful Nintendo character. The whole thing was sort of a reference, but
that's really interesting. But Pit also gets that power up where he gets, like, the sacred armor and bow and stuff. So there's that. But he also has that limitation that he can't fly forever, right? Depending on, you know, what power-ups he has. So, but I see what you're saying with Pit, but I also feel like Zelda is got to be up there. You know, keep in mind, Breath of the Wild came out after Kid Icarus, so maybe that changed, right? And I mean, Zelda completely pwned Calamity Ganon. Once she got out there, she, you know, she's got to be up there. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
And she's definitely stronger than Link.
She's well, I was talking about the Twilight Princess version earlier, but yeah, I think that Zelda would waste Link as well.
But she also had the complete Triforce at the time, so I feel like that weighs a little bit in her favor. Usually, Link has at least part of it.
She didn't know how to use it though, and she doesn't really seem like much of a fighter at all. So I'd say that sort of, I don't know. If she knew how to use it, now she would be unstoppable. I'd say.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of the point of the whole Triforce thing. Is like you have all three, and you're kind of just like, no, you're invincible now.
She didn't know though. Like she sort of acted on like instinct when she was saving Link, if I remember correctly. She just said stop it, and it sort of happened. She didn't mean to.
A lot of people are strongest when they're on their instinct. That's like people have lifted cars and like crazy things, just like off of instinct. So I don't know. I think we could probably argue about this all discuss this all day.
We could have a whole discussion about the strongest Nintendo characters.
Who's the strongest Nintendo?
We should have a topic.
That would be an epic discussion, actually. Yeah. So, but you know, I think that's kind of it for now, guys. I thank you everyone for watching. Remember to check out Will's channel, Lil the Deity. He just put up an update on a game. You should go check it out. It might be pretty interesting. Brandon from What About Nintendo? You know, he does stuff.
I do stuff.
He does stuff, yeah. And then Amanda Lee Plays. She's the first time she's been on here. Make sure to check her out, everyone. Amanda, do you want to like plug yourself or?
Plug myself?
Yes.
What?
Well, when you say plug, it's like, oh, check out my Twitter, check out my YouTube, stuff like that. Yeah.
Check out my Twitter, Mandy Lee Plays, and my YouTube is Mandy Lee Plays too. I cover games and stuff. But yeah, you can reach me on my Twitter. That's where you usually find me. So.
Yeah, so links to everyone's YouTube channel is in the description below. And if you want to find people's Twitter, you can either ask them, check their channels, or check out my Twitter, @AndresRestart, and, you know, within my tweets, I do @ them and interact with them. You can find them from there as well. So, of course, I'm going to plug myself. But, yeah, guys, thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. Remember, if you want any sort of topics for us to talk about next time, leave them in the comments or send me a message on Discord or Twitter. So, yeah, have a good night, everyone. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.